department as they keep our city safe 24/7, 365. So everyone, please rise for a moment of silence. Councilor Corrin, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you. We will start with presentation of certificates, proclamations. Councilor Corrin is going to help us do that today for the Natatorium Award presented to Public Works and Parks and Rec by Councilor Corrin.
Okay. If Public Works, Parks and Rec folks all want to come up and join me, sort of line up for this presentation. We're so excited. Thank you guys for coming up. The last Cruces, we'll shake hands and have okay, in a minute. Awesome, so thank you for coming up. The Las Cruces Recreational Aquatic Center Community Competition Pool was selected for the best project in the Engineering News Record, ENR magazine, for the Southwest region, which includes Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada, in the sports and entertainment category. On October 31st, 2023, in Phoenix, Arizona, ENR held a luncheon to issue the award. Since it was selected regionally, it will also be automatically entered to be considered for their national Best of the Best awards this spring. The project was also featured in the October-November 2023 issue of ENR as the best project winner for the Southwest region. The article stated the following of the project. This new 36,536 square foot aquatic center includes an Olympic-sized swimming pool, lobby and ticketing area, spectator seating, and locker rooms. Despite working off a 7-year-old estimate during the pandemic, the project team led a value analysis effort to keep the design within the city's budget, completing the work on time and within budget in March of 2023. It also goes on to say, exterior windows feature vertically placed decorative aluminum blue fins, which invoke the movement and aesthetic of water. The fins also provide a function as they will stand up to New Mexico's extreme weather conditions and offer shading over the floor-to-ceiling natatorium windows. While the facility enables professional level competition, it was also designed for swimmers of all ages and abilities. Accessibility features, which were a priority for the city of Las Cruces, including pool lifts and accessible changing rooms. We would like to recognize the dedicated efforts of city staff, the contractor, HB Construction, ASA Architects, and the community for a wonderful facility that will serve our community for many years to come. And I can't wait to find out if you guys win the national Best of the Best competition. We're rooting for you. So, thank you very much. Does anyone want to say something? Yes. Please. Please.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Members of the council, the board, Mayor Pro Tem. Well, we thought, we weren't sure if this was a trick, but anyways, just keeping it light. I want to say on behalf of everybody that was involved with this project, and it was a year plus, just from the design, the many meetings, Ms. Delgado, that was there with us initially when this started. It is a pleasure to be able to bring this to the community. We strive every day to make sure that any imperfections are perfected and to continue to make sure that this is something that was rightfully said. It's not just a pool for any specific demographic. It is a community pool for all to enjoy, and we thank you for the challenge on our end to bring you this pool and for many more years to come. Again, thank you for the award, the recognition. It is our pleasure.
Oh, that's me. That's me again. Great. We don't have Jobs of the Week here today, but we do have Pets of the Week with Amy DeFelix.
Hello, everyone. Of course, my name is Amy DeFelix. I'm one of the rescue coordinators for the Animal Services Center of the Mississippi Valley. And we'll start presenting the Pets of the Week. We always start off with our Cat of the Week, which this week is Coco. Her number is 72613. And she says, "There is no tortitude here. I am the sweetest and most affectionate girl you could probably ever meet. I will immediately approach you, making my biscuits and mashing my head into your hands to give me pets. I'm ready for the forever home that will pamper me and love me just as much as I will love them." And then we have our Dog of the Week. His name is Angel. His number is 64129. And he says, "I came to the Animal Services Center as a very skinny and timid puppy, but now I know that I can find myself in safe and loving company. Oh, now that I know, yes, I'm a ball of energy. The volunteers have called me a very smart boy, so I'd love a forever family to take me in, to train me and teach me new tricks. I'm ready for a life full of love." And we have one adoption event. We will be at Petco this Saturday, March 9th. We'll actually be there from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We'll be there an extra hour. And the address, in case you need, it's 3050 East Lowman Avenue. And of course, all the links, we have our website, ascmv.org, and we're all over social media. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify, and Apple Podcasts is where we upload our Tales from the Podside podcast episodes, which the new one is coming up soon, so definitely stay tuned for that. And that is everything I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. Yeah, you can go ahead and clap for her. Thanks, Amy. All right, now for our conflict of interest statement. Does any member of the city council, city manager, or any member of the city staff have any known conflict of interest with any item on the agenda?
None by
Graham.
notice.
None, Gordon.
None myself, thank you. None staff, thank you. All right, now we will go on to public participation. I see a full room here. Can we just do a show of hands? Who is here to speak? I'm going to do 2 polls on regular public comment. Just public comment. Raise your hand, raise your hand. Open public comment at the beginning? Okay, we'll keep it to 3 minutes. And then who's here to speak on item on the agenda? Okay, perfect. All right, so we're gonna start as we usually do with this side, 3 minutes. Please remember to keep it respectful, to address the members of the city council and to say your name, and then come up to the podium on the first row.
Thank you for the time. I just want to address a couple things. We were here at the last meeting as well, and I appreciate Mayor Enriquez. He stated at the end that not all of us are able to stay for the whole meeting because of the length of time, and many of us have to go back to work. But a couple
Sir,
things.
can you state your name, please?
Oh, sorry, Vic Villalobos. And the one thing I did watch till the end, I was able to participate, do that. And one thing I was a little disappointed in was that most of the council, what you actually took from that meeting was that you felt a little picked on or people were ganging up on you, when the reality was I think 90% of the people were here showing true concern about how we change things. And I realize that at times that in your position you can feel like you're picked on or people are ganging up on you and stuff, but the truth is you chose to be in that seat and you chose to be an elected official, and with that comes the good, the bad, and the ugly, unfortunately. And so I really hope at some point in the very near future, everybody can see through that, because I can tell you as a group of concerned business owners, the first time we met at our facility, we had 61 businesses there. The second time we met, we had 182 businesses, and we expect that to continue to grow. And the bigger concern is listening to all the problems people are having with the vagrancy and the crime. This isn't about you personally, and I'm looking at you because you take it very personally. This is everybody. It's in every district. It's in everything, and you guys really need to do something. And I watched the video. I shouldn't have, but I did. And that happened at our property there, and it was horrible. But what's more horrible to me was that 30 minutes before that happened, my wife was there alone at our facility, right? So little shift in things, that could be her. The day before, we confronted that same vagrant with issues. He was a little bit nicer at leaving, but still somewhat hostile. And since then, We now lock our outer fences, so when customers are coming, we have to go through extra efforts. It's more like Fort Knox there now. And I can tell you, yesterday alone, there was another vagrant out there acting in the same manner, screaming, yelling, jumping in the air, acting violently. And so we got to do something. We really do. We have a big event coming up this weekend. We've got over 100 people coming to our dock diving center. And I just look out in the street and I think, what are these people going to think coming to the city of Las Cruces? And honestly, how are they going to feel safe? And I get it. They're people too. I know what you're saying. They're people too. But these are violent people, and they are becoming more and more violent out there. And if we don't do something, it's going to get. I know it's going to get worse before it gets better. But we got to do something. And I feel like you're not listening. You're just not. I think you're taking this very personally, and this is about the public safety. And I hope you will truly take that stand. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, next person, please. Come on up. Don't forget to state your name, please.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Devin Narveson. I have been a Las Cruces resident for about 10 years now, and today I am here on behalf of Las Cruces for Palestine. Since October 7th, at least 30,000 Gazans have been killed by the state of Israel, including 12,300 children and more than 8,000 women. We know that the actual death toll is much higher, given that there are at least 8,000 Gazans currently missing. On top of that, more than 70,000 are injured with virtually nowhere left to go for treatment. Today, 1.5 million people are sheltering in Rafah, the southernmost town in the region, lying against the border of Egypt. Despite being told to move there for safety, Rafah is currently under attack by Israel, and 1.5 million people have nowhere left to run to, and the U.S. is an active participant. This is ethnic cleansing and genocide. In the last 5 months, I have seen footage of things more gruesome, vile, and inhumane than any horror movie could ever depict. I have seen children with the remains of their parents and parents with the remains of their children. I have seen countless images and videos of injured and murdered babies, literal infants and toddlers, orphaned, wounded, dead, or traumatized forever. We have seen innocent civilians being intentionally starved to death and gunned down when trying to get food. These are things that I will never forget as long as I live. If you've been paying any attention, you know that this systematic state violence has been going on for over 75 years. As women, as mothers, as elected officials, and more than anything else, as human beings, we are calling on you to use your positions of power to do something about it. In just the last 2 days, we have collected 352 signatures from fellow Las Cruces residents, calling on you to pass a resolution for the following: an immediate ceasefire, permanent ceasefire, restoration of UNRWA funding, and an end to Israeli blockage of humanitarian aid to Gaza, abidance of international law, and an end to all funding and weapons transfers to Israel. Repeated, countless demonstrations all over the world, including right here in the city of Las Cruces, show that these demands represent the will of the people. A genocide is taking place right before our very eyes, and it is time for all of us to act. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, let me bring us back to something more appropriate for our purposes here today.
Please state your name.
My name is Richard Farr, and I'm here to express my dismay and disappointment over our mayor's stated intention to restrict the public comments portion of these council meetings and to move it to some unspecified time after the completion of the council agenda. I apologize if I seem to be unfairly imputing motive, but I see this as being not only vindictive and punitive, but also a thinly veiled stifling of opinions and viewpoints you just don't want to hear, while at the same time unnecessarily shielding some delicate sensibilities. At the last council meeting, we all witnessed some very powerful and very emotional comments expressing frustration, fear, anger, rage, sorrow, pain. It was disturbing, difficult, and emotional for all of us as we empathized with our neighbors' sincere and heartfelt remarks. You have to know that those emotions and opinions are out there, and they should be voiced, and they should be heard, and you should hear them. It's not unexpected that you may disagree with some of the comments expressed, and it's unfortunate some of those comments may seem to you rightly or wrongly hurtful, unfair, erroneous, and even personally hurtful. But let me remind you that rightly or wrongly, those are among the unavoidable consequences of seeking and accepting an elected leadership position. Let me share a sage reminder that I have often had occasion to reflect upon in my professional life. It's a quote from Super Chicken, my favorite cartoon hero, which simply states, "You knew the job was dangerous when you took it." Our fellow citizens have a civic responsibility to step forward and voice their concerns. And you have a corresponding responsibility and a duty to hear and consider those concerns. One council member stated that you're not in it for the money. And I respect that. But clearly, nobody in this audience here is in it for the money either, and you need to respect that. Those of us out here all have demanding obligations and responsibilities in our busy personal and professional lives. And coming here to participate in community issues is often a major inconvenience. Therefore, I strongly urge you to abandon this ill-conceived, punitive, and repressive notion which would inevitably discourage and inhibit public participation.
Thank you. Next, please.
Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, good afternoon. My name is Chuck Widger, and I thank you for this opportunity to address you. I have lived in Las Cruces for 47 years, including obtaining my degree from NMSU. I know you recently heard from the small businesses, and I come to you today as a resident. I would like to relate a particular incident which occurred at my home last Thursday morning at 12:51 a.m. and what I have observed over the last few years in Las Cruces and my neighborhood. I have 2 pickups parked in my driveway, and these are covered by a motion-sensitive Ring camera. Thursday morning upon awakening, I reviewed the footage and found a young man running in front of one pickup and pulling on the door handle of the other pickup to see if it was locked. When I attempted to file an online police report, I found no category that trespass and attempted auto burglary would fit in. My belief is that if these incidents cannot be reported, how will Las Cruces Police Department be able to properly compile statistics and be able to formulate plans of patrol in high crime areas? Please note, this same individual was observed on cameras in 2 other neighborhoods that night attempting to burglarize vehicles. He appeared to be about 15 or 16 years old, not homeless, as he made his escape with an accomplice in a vehicle. This was not a random incident, as my neighborhood has had cars stolen or rifled through, multiple incidents of mailbox broken into, porch pirates stealing packages, theft of porch furniture, and items stolen out of garages over the last 18 to 24 months. We have had neighbors' backyards and homes entered by uninvited persons. Fortunately, so far, there has been no physical assaults or injuries to the homeowners. It is obvious to me that our neighborhood is being targeted and cruised on a regular basis. We have a good neighborhood with longtime residents, and we watch out for each other. Besides forming a neighborhood watch program, many of us lock our gates, have installed security systems. We have installed security doors and have the club on any vehicles which are not in our garages. I speak with many individuals, some known to me, some not, and the conversation over the last couple of years invariably gets around to the safety of ourselves, our families, and our friends living in Las Cruces. So this lawlessness is not only happening in my neighborhood, but neighborhoods all over town. I also know of individuals who have come to Las Cruces for many years to winter, and now they are not planning on coming back for any period of time, if at all, due to concerns for their safety. I believe this trend will continue and accelerate if you, the mayor, the council, don't do something to stem this tide of lawlessness. Please take Chief Story's suggestions seriously and work with he and his officers to turn things around. I don't blame the LCPD for the lawless trend, and I fully support them and am extremely grateful for their efforts. Thank you.
Anybody else on that second row? Third row. Fourth row? 1, 2, 3. Okay, back to the third row. Yep.
Hello, my name is Dr. Chantal Savage. I'm a medical provider, a business owner, and a member of the Armed Services. I'm here today because I have seen firsthand what great leadership can do for an organization. The biggest problem with communication is we don't listen to understand, we listen to reply. One of the fundamental principles that I have adapted and applied in good leadership is to build a strong team. You must see someone else's strength as a complement to your weakness and not a threat to your position or authority. Great leadership is a selfless act, not seeking personal gain or recognition. The wins belong to your people and your people alone, whereas the weaknesses, the flaws, and the losses are that of the leadership and the leadership alone. I believe that we are especially lucky here in Las Cruces to have a police force that is made of officers that truly make a difference, that want to uphold the law and make it home safe to their families. But without financial, legislative, and moral support, they're set up for failure. With legislative action, clear and concise law writing, and a proactive leadership from this council, they can focus on protecting citizens and each other. I do know from personal and professional experiences that giving those whom you're leading the proper tools to succeed is paramount. Those tools, I believe, are as follows: a change in ordinance, repealing those that are constitutionally questionable and replacing them with ones that are enforceable to their entirety. State legislative action, especially competency laws and bail reform. Recruiting and retaining officers that are already budgeted for, and establishing a real-time crime center. I truly believe from what I've seen from Police Chief Story and heard from his subordinates that he is the leadership that we need to support. Thank you.
Thank you. That was row 3. Anybody else on 3? Okay, row 4. We're not doing that today, thank you. Just 3 minutes per person.
Good afternoon, councilors and Mayor Pro Tem. My name's Laura Smart. I'm addressing the scary, deplorable third world situation at Apodaca Park on Madrid and Solano. I believe this is District 3 and Councilor Becky Graham's district. Every day there are a minimum of 32 to 100 pickleball players who come to play at the only 8 public outdoor courts in Las Cruces. When I drive into the park, I feel like I'm entering a lawless, graffitied, homeless encampment. I am now scared to park my car and play for fear when I return, the windows will be busted out, my catalytic converter will be missing, which happened to one of the players, or I may be accosted by some meth addict begging for money. One of the ladies had her purse stolen out of her car while playing in broad daylight. There's graffiti all over the old pool house, which has been an eyesore for over 10 years. Weeds and trees are growing in the swamp-like pool, and who knows what creatures are living there. I distinctly remember presenting to City Council in July 2019 posters with photos of this disastrous city park. I also remember a female councilor stating, "We will clean up that graffiti." I was so hopeful, That was 5 years ago, and nothing has been done. If the city would demolish the pool and building by the courts and Apodaca, which should have been done years ago, you wouldn't have any graffiti. There's no toilet paper in the restrooms by the ballpark. The water fountains have not functioned in over 5 years. I addressed the water fountain issue to the Parks and Rec office more than a year ago. The response I received is we're waiting for the water company to repair a pipe. The sprinklers are misdirected and actually water the courts on the south end and destroy any flyers hanging on the fence, which are posted about future pickleball events. I have a lot of questions. Where is the $750,000 grant which was awarded to improve Apodaca Park? I've called Senator Heinrich over 5 times during the past 4 years asking where this money was. The last phone call, I was told that someone in Las Cruces city management didn't follow through with the paperwork, so it was stuck in administration. Who's in charge of this paperwork? Did we lose this funding due to lack of follow-through in Las Cruces city management? Why haven't the East Mesa Sports Complex open? The 8 courts have been completed for over 2 years. Part of the Go Bonds money was voted on for that sports complex. Has money been redirected to some other project without permission of the public taxpayers? I could continue describing the disgusting situation at Apodaca Park, but instead, I'm going to offer my services to work with Parks and Rec Director Stephen Bingham and his team and Apodaca Park employees on improving the current situation at Apodaca Park for free. Each of you has my contact information because I sent you all an email asking you to leave the public comments at the beginning of the council meetings last week. I received a response from 3 of you. Thank you for responding, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anybody else on the 4th row? 5th row? 6th row?
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Fuller. I'm a retired captain with the Doña Ana County Sheriff's Department, and I'm here in support of the Las Cruces Police Department. And I just want to speak about the continuing problems that have been addressed earlier today and, of course, at last week's council meeting. The time has come for us to do something. What I'm afraid of is the next time someone is hurt or killed, it's going to be a family member. It's going to be somebody close to home. And I don't want any of us to have it said that we didn't do anything, that we didn't come forward. I know the mayor said that it's not just a city problem, it's a community problem. And that is true, but nobody has the power that the city and the city councilors have. And I know you can't solve the problems of the world and with Palestine and things like that, but you have the key to the purse strings, you have staff under you, and you can see that programs get implemented that address this. I'm from Albuquerque, but I've lived here for over 40 years. If you follow the Albuquerque Journal, things are so out of control there that the city has had to form a unit that goes around and cleans up feces left behind by the homeless. Because the businesses have to step over it and their customers have to deal with it. Do we want that in Las Cruces? I don't think so. I think we can do something about it. And I'm not just attacking the homeless, but statistics show that there's a high amount of mental health issues and a high amount of substance abuse issues. And that's something that we can attempt to address. And the final thing, another thing that I really think we need to address is the change that happened, I believe, 4 years ago, where the voters, we the people, got rid of bail, cash bail bonds. And I think that was a huge mistake. And for every year since then, there's been an attempt to overturn that and to claw back at it. But our governor keeps saying, no, this is the way to go. But I don't think so, because it's a revolving door. I talk to people daily. You heard from the business people. I've talked to farmer friends, community friends. We heard about neighborhoods. It is getting worse. And they say, well, it's the violent offenders, but it's not. Anybody can become violent when there's mental health issues and there's substance abuse issues. And if they get cornered, they can lash out, and now we have something serious. Over and over and over, they're getting released. I think that's something that the council can put pressure on at the state level to change our bail reform. We do not need people going around and around and around in that revolving door. But please, don't let the next victim be a family member. Do something.
Thank you. We'll go to the 6th row. Come on down.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilman Garcia. The Coalition of Conservatives has advocated for the forgotten victims of crime during the last 2 years. We give voice to those marginalized by our lawmakers. We have the Las Cruces Hall of Shame with almost 200 small business victims of crime who are victimized again and again by a failed legal system. We have put up billboards to highlight the increasing crime and drugs. Focus has been on the criminal while ignoring the victim. As an example, in these chambers, I was called insensitive because I posted a split board with a vagrant on one side and the destruction of a dollar store on the other side. CCIA helps citizens present their grievances in these chambers, pushing for change. We advocate for stronger ordinances, and I was told by the previous council we can't do anything else and just pass the blame. We have silence from state representatives and senators, Cadena, Ferrari, Hamlin, and others. I am glad Chief Story had the replacement or new ordinances as a goal during his press conference. We have asked the council to advocate the state legislation for changes in laws during 2023 and 2024. Most every small business we visit has damages exceeding $500. So almost any broken window is valued higher. So why aren't these cases sent to the DA for prosecution as felonies? So now we fast forward to 20 February, when we had 15 to 20 small businesses present their grievances, which were, quote, categorized by some of the council as a bashing, resulting in the new mayor planning to change public input, public participation to the end of the council meet. In my opinion, this is retaliation, clear and simple, and an effort to suppress public comment. Regardless of how the council spins the change, the optics are horrible. It shows the community the mayor and council will make it difficult for citizens to voice their grievances. Many speakers are parents with kids and workers taking time off to come and speak. With the change, it may be 1 to 4 hours before they get their 3 minutes. I am sure the mayor and council know this, but they are proceeding. Citizens will continue to peaceably assemble and petition the city government for a redress of their grievances. Public input, public participation may be slowed, but citizens will not be silenced. Thank you.
We are still on the 6th row. Anybody else on the 6th row? 7th row.
Good afternoon. My name is Lisa Parrott. I'm a resident of District 6. Our nation was founded upon the rule of law. We, the people, expect the rule of law to prevail. If we, the people, are inconvenienced by having to wait until the end of these public meetings in order to express our concerns, so be it. But do you really want those optics? Your next election cycle is closer than you think. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the 7th row. Anybody else? 7th row? 8th row? 9th row?
Good afternoon. I'm Diana Leary. I own a business at 925 North Mesquite Street. It is a gallery. It's basically about 2 blocks from the police station over here. I, as many businesses on Mesquite Street, have been broken into many times. The last time I was broken into was January 29th of this year, and over $500 worth of security equipment was taken from me. And I actually had a video that I turned over to the police of the person who stole my security equipment. I compared it with videos that my fellow business owners on Mesquite Street had, and we think it's probably the same person doing this. I've provided the videos to the police department. I've not been contacted by the detectives as to if anything could be pulled or any comparison of those videos happen. I do think and am very concerned about some things that I think are exacerbating this problem. We have tons of druggies walking up and down Mesquite Street and Amador and all of the streets around Main Street. One thing that's not helping this is that there are abandoned businesses, there are abandoned houses that the owners have not been tearing down or boarding up significantly so that these druggies can't find a place to cook their meth or hang out. I also think there's a lack of lighting on North Mesquite Street near Spruce and Mesquite. There's no lighting on that corner, and I was told that we were going to have more lighting on Mesquite Street. That has not happened. Finally, it is very, very sad to me that we allow the panhandlers, which I don't call homeless people. They might look homeless, but they've made a decision to go on the street, beg for money, or break into cars, or break into businesses in order to get money for their drugs. If they were truly homeless, I know this city has a place for them to go. So as I said, it's just very upsetting to me to see. I've been in Las Cruces 10 years. I love this little town. I want it to grow. I want the businesses on Mesquite Street to be safe and grow. So I hope you can do something about that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to this side. That second row, please. Don't forget to state your name.
My name is Captain Flowers. Can I pass this note to the mayor?
You can give that to the city clerk, please.
If it's possible, if you could meet with me maybe after
Can
this is
you
over.
speak directly into the microphone, please?
If it's possible, sir, if you could meet with me after this is over.
You're asking for a meeting with the city manager?
I know I'm asking for the mayor.
The mayor is not here today.
Oh, he's not? Okay.
This is our city manager.
City manager.
But he will speak with you after.
Very good. So I could just hang out here or be outside? Is it
Yes.
okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Second row. Nobody? Third row.
My name is Joe Ruprecht. I'm a resident of Las Cruces. In comparison with some of the other comments you've heard, this is a small thing, but it has some point of gravity in order for the residents of the Mesquite Historic District. During the City Council meeting on February 5th, an error in procedure seems to have occurred and needs to be noted before a vote to accept the minutes. My point relates to actions taken on resolution number 24-050, as shown at the bottom of page 14 of the minutes. According to Robert's rules, a motion to table an item indefinitely is debatable. Further, a motion to table indefinitely opens the main motion, in this case, resolution 24-050, to debate. As shown in the minutes before you, no debate on the tabling or on the main motion occurred. In fact, I attended that meeting and believe that a review of the video would show that through the action of a city staff member, no debate or discussion was allowed. Instead, once seconded, the motion was abruptly moved to a vote and approved unanimously but improperly. The voices of numerous residents who had come to that meeting prepared to speak against the resolution were silenced by what I would term an abrupt end run to avoid public scrutiny of the issue and to forestall a constructive discussion, including information not previously presented to council. Briefly, Resolution 24-050 is part of an effort to demolish a former residence at 643 East Picacho in order to convert this city-owned property to a parking lot for city use. Historically, City 643 was one of 4 homes on its block owned by members of the Fielder family. 2 of the other Fielder homes occupy the lots adjacent to 643 and continue as privately owned residences at 641 and 645 East Picacho. This area holds touchstones to Black history in Las Cruces, and the block sits squarely in the nationally recognized Mesquite Historic District. While tabling the resolution indefinitely would seem to drop the issue of demolishing or otherwise compromising the building, that is not the practical effect. As a city-owned building and without additional public discussion or action by City Council, 643 East Picacho is fully in the hands of our Community Development Department, a department that has repeatedly taken actions, including demolition, in this historic district with little regard for residents' concerns and with slim accountability to the public. Based on my understanding of Robert's rules, I therefore ask that under old business at its next regular meeting, council entertain a motion to rescind the indefinite tabling of the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to submit, I have 2 more sentences. I'll submit that to the clerk.
Please do, thank you. I believe she was on the 3rd row. 3rd row? 4th row. 6th row. Did I skip a whole row? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th row. 6th row.
My name is Fred Huff. After listening to the public comments at the last City Council meeting concerning the crime and lawlessness that our small businesses are facing, I was surprised that our mayor announced that the public comments would be moved to the end of the council meetings. Having a couple weeks to think about this, I want to share my opinion on the pros and cons of this change to the traditional agenda that the mayor controls. Pros for the public. Number 1, none. Cons. These business owners are struggling to get enough employees to staff their businesses and need to be on site while the business is open. This is a struggle just to step away from their business for the hour and a half to participate in the public comments. To wait until the end of the meeting, it will take them away from their business for the rest of the day. Number 2. Okay, that was it for the public. Pros for the city, council, and mayor. Number 1, this is a great way to censor the public from bringing issues before the city council. And it gives the councilors a good feeling that no one is bringing issues before them. So they think their policies are bringing prosperity and law and order to the city. 2, no news media coverage of public comments, since they will most likely not wait 4 to 6 hours to hear the public comments. Maybe the mayor could put the councilors' comments after the public comments. Then the media can report on both sets of comments. And I hope the mayor watches these comments today. 3, the public comments and council comments are not a conversation. Anyway, Each side is talking at each other and not to each other. Quite a few people that day asked for a work session where the public could talk to and with the city council. Even the mayor in his comments had heard that idea. So my question is, has anything been done to start a process for work session? The mayor also said that you are the leaders of the city and are responsible for community issues. These issues are not solved in a vacuum. It takes a community working together. In his column last week, Peter Goodman stated, "We all need to work together, producing creative, helpful ideas, debating factually, and collaborating to improve the situation, not folks personally attacking counselors, nor counselors ignoring us." Thank you.
Anybody else on the sixth row?
Morning. My name is Jim Hurst. Let's blame the liberals. The liberals support programs and facilities.
Sir, please speak directly into the microphone.
The liberals support programs and facilities that help the homeless, and the homeless are a big problem in Las Cruces. Therefore, it's the liberals' fault. Listening to many of these comments, one would get the impression that liberals were responsible for all social ills. Liberals did not create homelessness. Liberals did not create our society's mental health crisis. Liberals did not create crime. Liberals did not create poverty. Liberals did not create drug and alcohol abuse. Liberals did not create our housing shortage. Liberals did not create our failed health care system and our failed mental health care system. Liberals did not create the wealth disparity that exists in our country. The problem with the homeless in Las Cruces is a symptom of many social ills. It is what a mental health crisis looks like. If you ever wondered what a society that doesn't take mental health as seriously as physical health looks like, now you know. If you ever wondered what happens in a state governed by a Republican governor who defunded mental health for 8 years, now you know. If you ever wonder what a society that fails to provide adequate affordable housing for all its citizens, now you know. If you ever wondered what a society that fails to raise a minimum wage for decades looks like, now you know. If you ever wondered what happens to a people in their communities who leave the workforce because of meager wages, now you know. If you ever wondered what would happen in a state without a policy for homelessness that allows one jurisdiction to dump its homeless on surrounding jurisdictions, now you know. We have not found a successful strategy for dealing with the homeless yet. It doesn't mean it's wrong to try, and it doesn't mean that those who try are to blame for the current situation. Thank you. And with the time I have remaining, I concur that you need to keep the public comments at the beginning of the meeting so that the citizen knows when they can come to comment. You are the first line of defense for democracy. If the people cannot freely express their grievances to their governor, to their government, they will find other ways, and they won't be as polite. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we were on the sixth row. Okay, come on down.
Thank you. I'm Henry Young, Director of the Las Cruces Gospel Rescue Mission. Most of my comments have already been voiced, so I will address something else at this time, but I will reserve my final sentence for you. Mayor Pro Tem, I am still working on the last council meeting that you chaired as far as trying to get together all of the hospitals to meet with the city and us who are in charge of the homeless. And that's like herding cats. And I have been unable to get all 3 hospitals to come to the table at the same time. So I'm still working on it, and I want you to know that. Other than that, there have been some misspoken things that we've heard today. For one, Peter Goodman is vastly wrong in his percentages on the homeless who are either drug addicted or mentally health challenged. It is much higher than his statistics show. I won't venture to say what my research has said, but it is at least 4 times higher than what he said. The other thing is, we just heard about the liberals versus the other side. Many of those statements were inadequate. And after saying that, I do have in place within the Las Cruces Gospel Rescue Mission a program that is successful for those who come to us. We have a high success rate of those people eventually leaving and becoming productive members of our society locally and/or other places. I had one lady that left here, went back to New York, and is a successful businesswoman today. Others have similar situations of success. Do we have failures? Yes. But we've also had a great deal of success with our program. So in summing up, after everything else is said and done, we the people are the voice that governs through the elected representatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is Henry Hardig, and I live in District 2. I'm here today to ask our City Council to sign onto a resolution to pressure the Biden administration to stop the funding for the war in Gaza. We should be joining a growing list of approximately 70 U.S. cities who passed similar measures. We saw a significant demonstration here on Saturday in our downtown, and there is clearly public support. We've left a petition with City Hall with 352 signatures gathered indicating public support. But what's Gaza got to do with us? Why don't we focus on the issues in our city and not abroad? Allow me to make another simple moral appeal on this point. If any amount of our tax dollars are being used to send bombs to be dropped on hospitals, universities, and homes anywhere in the world, then we have a responsibility to speak up, and our City Council has a responsibility to take a moral position on our part. Over the last 5 months, the Biden administration has used flimsy excuses and sometimes outright fantasy to buttress their policy of deprivation of food and medical supplies to Gaza, while simultaneously providing the Israeli military with 2,000-pound bombs used to decimate and absolutely level centers of urban civilian population, as well as actively participate in the starvation of the people of Gaza. Not only is everyone who could possibly take a stance on this issue in the U.S. government implicated, it is directly responsible if they continue to do nothing. In 150 days of genocide, we have seen 3 emergency aid packages rush to Israel against the will of the American taxpayer. We know that the government can act very quickly when profit is on the line, yet they are slow to the point of absolute stagnation when it comes to the humanity and desperation of the least fortunate. The only thing the Biden administration has offered so far here is a lukewarm chastisement toward Israeli leadership. This is unacceptable. We've also seen U.S. aid drops along the coast of Gaza as of Saturday via Jordan's Air Force. This is also unacceptable and is no more than a band-aid over a bullet wound, which our government continues to ignore. If these atrocities, crimes of war by the international standards, continue, the fastest famine in history is predicted to at least double the death toll of civilians in the Gaza Strip via starvation. Biden could open Gaza's borders, restore funding to UNRWA, and stop the bombs falling today. He could have done it yesterday. He could have done it when the death toll hit 10,000, even 20,000, and so on. This last week, that official death toll finally topped 30,000. He could and should do this at the behest of the vast majority of Americans. On Saturday, we saw protests in every major U.S. city and then some throughout the rest of the world. Again, I ask that the City Council sign on to a resolution ending these atrocities that would otherwise go ignored, despite our direct implication in its continuation. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on down. No worries.
Hi, I'm Dana Hopkins. I live in District 4, and I'll be very brief. I think the young folks here who are speaking about Palestine are really eloquent, and I want them to be able to use their own words. I noticed some comments, people wondering what the relevance was of this as we're discussing things very vital here in Las Cruces. So I just wanted to speak to that this is indeed a symbolic gesture, but it's a symbolic gesture that's being made around our country in small towns, big cities, et cetera. And taken as a whole, it makes a really powerful statement that potentially actually changes our policies. And watching these young folks who are bombarded every day with images of death and dying and genocide, I truly understand their passion. And I wanted to also, because I'm hearing this elsewhere, make really clear that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism. And that these folks are addressing a real concern based on what they're seeing, and I hope y'all are hearing them. And for the folks who are waiting to speak, that all of these things, including everything everybody behind me has to say, are relevant to us here in Cruces. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that was still the folks on the 6th row. So then I'm going to the 7th row. Or the standing row.
My name is Brent Barlow. I've lived here in the Valley for 4 decades, local business owner, graduate of Las Cruces High School, New Mexico State University, retired law enforcement executive and veteran. First, God bless Officer Hernandez, his family, and all the law enforcement personnel that had experienced the night Officer Hernandez was brutally murdered, and for their continued protection of our community. They place their lives on the line every day for us. We as a community are eternally grateful to all of you. Regardless of what you hear from elected officials and most media outlets, you are appreciated, you are valued. We as a community will support you. We will always have your back. Don't get discouraged. Keep fighting the good fight. We need you. We will always need you. 149,821. That's the total number of calls for service the Las Cruces Police Department answered in 2023. That's an 11% increase from 2022 and a 13.7% increase from 2021. Our community safety falls apart when we don't have enough law enforcement officers available to answer the call. Citizens want a proactive police presence in our community neighborhoods. We want a quick response when we call 911. We want an engaged law enforcement community that are actively looking to defeat and deter crime. It is your job as elected officials and city management to make sure that they have all the necessary resources and the backing to achieve those missions. Are you willing to come out today as elected officials and affirm your complete opposition to any defund the police initiatives? Are you proactively letting other elected officials at the state and federal levels that the city of Las Cruces has no tolerance for any type of defunding initiative and that we will lobby against it if it rears its ugly head? In April 2021, the governor of the state signed the New Mexico Civil Rights Act into law. What that law should have been called is the Removal of Necessary Protections of Police Officers so attorneys can fleece their pockets with taxpayers' monies act. The fact of the matter is, most politicians wouldn't know what qualified immunity was if it came up and slapped them in the face. Qualified immunity allows for a protection for police officers so that when the law was not clearly established on how they should respond in a certain situation, that the officer would have covered by immunity. Our governor and every single state senator and representative in Doña County voted to pass that mess of a legislation. It needs to be repealed. So why is LCPD missing 25 officers? People in elected positions and in government management should already know the answer. Cops are routinely trashed by politicians and local and national media pundits who literally don't have the first idea on what cops do or what it takes to do the job, but will second guess them at every turn and then make policy and legislative actions based on their ignorance. Cops are not stupid people. They currently live in a world where much of what they see is not supported for their efforts. Removing essential legal protections for cops, segments of our society calling for protests against cops, people speeding on cops, people violently attacking and killing cops, elected officials using cops as cannon fodder to further political agenda, criminals that have zero respect for our laws, and the list goes on and on and on. And so we wonder why we don't have anybody. Pretty stupid, isn't it? I have people ask me all the time about a career in law enforcement. What I say, not in today's world. Get sued, lose everything, get criminally charged for doing a job in a lawful manner, go to prison, lose everything, job gone, family gone, house gone. Better yet, get killed in the line of duty. You're gone, people forget, family destroyed, community broken. So I want to say thank you, Chief Story, to all your people. We love you, we appreciate you very much, and we're not going away.
That was the seventh row. We're going to do the 8th row. Yep. So if you're standing in the back, I'm going to call you last. You're here already. Why don't you go ahead? But I'm going to go to the 8th row next with the guy with the gentleman with the hat and the white. Okay.
My apologies for. Yeah, I just wanted to let you know
State
that.
your name, please.
I'm sorry. My name is Jorge Aguirre. I'm a resident of 12 years, a small business owner and employer, father and husband, homeowner too. You know, I see a lot of anger here. Probably some rightful anger against everybody. And I just want us to keep in perspective that this is a national problem. Everybody's having homelessness, right? And homelessness comes because of poverty. And more poverty creates more homelessness, and more homelessness creates more crime, right? I'm from Juarez, right? You can tell by my accent. And in Juarez, they had a really large crime problem. And with help from the United States, they brought a lot of money to brought U.S. weapons and U.S. cars and U.S. equipment and U.S. training to Mexican police. And they enlarged the police by a large size. And you know what happened? Crime quintupled. We had kidnappings like never before. And you can say, you know, yeah, Mexico has their problems, whatever, yes. But you know what happened in California? They had this homelessness problem like a couple decades ago. And they hired more cops and they enlarged the police department. And they enacted policies to protect the right to single homeowners to forbid every other type of housing that the market needed from being built. And so homelessness became a worse problem. So all I'm saying here is let's try not to follow the California policies of not building housing and just enlarging the police and spending all this money on things that don't work. They didn't work there. And so we do that, they're not gonna work here. And of course, I hear a lot about the revolving door. Yes, it is a problem, but what was happening before was that we were just incarcerating the poor. The laws only apply for the poor because if you have enough money, you get out. So how come you want to have the privilege to get out because you have enough money, but you don't want the poor to get out? So now that we say, no, everybody has equality, now everybody's out on the streets, now we have a bunch of homelessness, we have much more crime. It is a tough problem. But it's not going to be solved with the solutions that didn't work in the past. So that's all I'm saying, that take a lot of things with a grain of salt. Everybody's really angry. There are no good solutions. And so there's a lot of contradictions. If you give money to the poor, people are going to be angry, even if it creates solutions. So anyway, I just want to say that thank you to all of you who are trying to do the tough things and the right thing at the same time. I know it's hard. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the sir with the A. Come on down. And I'm going to consider him the 8th row, so if there's anybody else at the 8th row.
I apologize for the confusion. My name is Jason Cogdill. I'm a resident of Las Cruces. I also served Doñana County as a sheriff's deputy for 21 and a half years. I would disagree with some folks here. I don't think what you're hearing is anger. What you're hearing is frustration, and the frustration is this. You all have the power to change things. And for whatever reason, it's taking a very long time. I want to commend Chief Story and Las Cruces Police Department for their transparency in this most recent murder of Officer Hernandez. That was terrible and completely unnecessary. If there is legislation in this city that is anti-police, I'm asking you to repeal it, reform it, get rid of it. There is no reason for it. These men and women are warriors that keep us safe every single day, and they need the tools to do their job. It is incumbent upon you and your power and the responsibility that comes with your positions to enable them to do that. So thank you very much, sir, for what you have done and what you continue to do. I would agree with my colleague, Mr. Barlow. We love you. You are in our prayers, and we just want this city to be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Henry Cooper. I'm a retired lieutenant from the Doñana County Sheriff's Office and cancer survivor. And before I want to go too far, I want to say that we have an excellent cancer center here in Las Cruces. They saved my life. Now, having said that, With all the things that have been talked about here about law enforcement, being retired for the number of years I have, it's extremely frustrating to watch on TV, whatever the news source is or who the politician is or whatever party, to see how they talk about what law enforcement officers actually do on the street. I also directed several of our academies at the Sheriff's Office. I taught at the academy in Santa Fe, and I taught several times at the Las Cruces Police Academy. Every time, it's always about what it is we teach our law enforcement officers and how they learn how to do their job on the street. And many's the time, just to keep from getting in trouble. Too many times, law enforcement officers will get complained upon because of a simple procedure they did, as they were taught in the academies, and it's not unconstitutional, it's not against the law, it's what they were taught. But there's something else, another group of people that need to be educated about law enforcement, and that's the public. What you see in movies, I could come up with numerous examples, movies, TV series, that I would sometimes throw my shoe at the TV and then go get a new TV because I broke it. Because that's how frustrated I am at how they present law enforcement to the public. And we see a failure about that education to the public from our elected leaders and maybe even from top law enforcement agencies and officials in those agencies. Qualified immunity is not about making excuses for wrongdoing. It's about letting the officer be able to do the job they have and how they've been taught. By and large. Jonah Hernandez was killed by a man with a knife. And too many times when we hear about law enforcement officers returning fire and utilizing deadly force, somebody says, oh, the guy only had a knife. Or when he shoots somebody who's driving a car trying to run him down, they were unarmed. No, they were in charge of a several thousand-pound weapon. I mean, how many people are killed by cars every year? That is where we also need to start. The education to the public about how law enforcement do their job is not always pretty. It's not always nice. But that's dependent on the type of crime these officers are facing and the education they have. Thank you.
Thank you. I've lost track, but I think that was the 8th row. Anybody else on the 8th row? Okay, 9th row. Okay, we're just gonna go with the folks in the back.
Good afternoon.
You can move the mic. Yep.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak. My name is Fern Adams, and I am an anthropologist at NMSU with a focus in culture and language. I am here on behalf of Cruces for Palestine, and as an anthropologist, it is extremely painful to be witnessing the genocide that is happening in Gaza. The world is aware, and the people are not blind to the crimes that Israel has been committing. Israel has taken away so many innocent lives and are actively depriving the remaining ones of any basic human decency, denying them of food, shelter, and water, things that people should not have to beg for. And they are actively erasing and outright performing a cultural genocide, destroying whole communities of people who are simply just trying to exist peacefully. These communities were forced to evacuate from their homes and were shoved into quote-unquote safe zones. But it is blatantly obvious that there are no longer any safe zones, especially after the events of last week's Flower Massacre, where dozens of starving civilians were murdered when attempting to collect food. People who were weak and starving, and the Israeli government justifies that they took this action because they felt threatened. To feel threatened by people who were malnourished, who just wanted to feed their children, who just wanted to simply not lose their rights to the one thing that they had left, which was life. Mothers and children are actively dying. It is painful to know that so much, if not all, of their culture and language will never see the light of day again because it is now trapped underneath the rubble and blood of so many innocent human beings. These are selfish acts that the Israeli government could have put a stop to and prevented, but instead have chosen not to and continue to justify and turned a blind eye to their actions. So we are asking our city council to pass a resolution that calls to the Biden administration to facilitate an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza, to restore UNRWA funding and ensure Israeli allows unlimited humanitarian aid to enter at the scale needed in both North and South Gaza, and to uphold international law and basic human decency by demanding that Israel ends extrajudicial members of Palestine in the West Bank and ends all settled terror on Palestinians, and to end all funding and weapon transfers to Israel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Looks like the line is forming in the back now, so go ahead and just get in line and then come on down.
Good afternoon. My name is Danny Muller, and I want to tell you about a Monday that I witnessed a lot of vandalism about a month and a half ago. I went to pick up my clothes on Loman at the Comet Cleaners, and their drive-through glass plate was just completely shattered. Then after that, I went down to the Chick-fil-A. Same thing there. Windows were broken. Then I had to go over to Battery Plus, and I observed that there was, as I walked in, somebody had tried to break into a plate glass double door that was extremely strong. And I'm thinking it took a lot of pressure to get that open. They did not get open. The owner did tell me that the Sally's next door had also experienced vandalism. PetSmart, then I had to go pick up some food at PetSmart. They had some plate glass windows that were broken out also. And then our daughter has a medical practice in that area, and she has spent thousands of dollars to replace glass, to reinforce her doors. And the concern that my wife and I had is that she related the story to us, that one afternoon she went going out to her car, and there was someone that was messing with it. And so she stepped back in, closed the gate that they had just installed, and went and called the police, and the police were there right away, and we really appreciate that. So I'm asking the city council to please listen to all the statements that have been made today and look at what we can do to make Las Cruces a safer place for not only businesses, but for customers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon to all. My name is Yoli Diaz. Shifting gears. Since October 2021, I've been advocating for access to needed health care. My focus has been Memorial Medical Center since they're on a lease with City of Las Cruces and Doña Ana County, and the only hospital with medical and radiation oncologists. Today, I will expand my discussion. We have 3 for-profit hospitals. Memorial, operated by LifePoint, is owned by Apollo Global Management, a private equity firm. Mount View is owned by Community Health Systems, another major U.S. health system. Both have very large charge-to-cost ratios, 625 to 725, according to a national report. It doesn't compare to UNM or Presbyterian. And according to this report, the top 10 hospitals in New Mexico with the highest charge-to-cost ratios, we have 2 of them right here, which is Memorial and Mountain View. I don't know too much about 3 Cruces. It's a beautiful hospital, but I've read that they're also owned by a private equity firm. So I want to discuss 2 estimates of service just to kind of get these numbers out there, and I'm going to use 2 hospitals. The first one I'm going to use is from Memorial Medical Center by a resident of Doña Ana County who was uninsured at the time that he needed his service. And keep in mind that when someone has a potentially fatal disease, they're thinking about their disease, not these numbers. So they had an estimate that was $7,022.83. So what they do is they have these estimates, and then they'll allow a prompt payment discount. So due today was $5,618.26, which was June 30th, 2023. I don't know what went wrong, but they took the $7,000 instead of the fixed $5,600. There's plenty of studies where people don't even have $500. I don't know how you're going to have $5,000 or $7,000. That was Memorial. And then at Mountain View, there was actually a child who needed a surgery, and the estimate was $173,827.87. There was some CPT codes missing, and there's a law, right? The price transparency law, effective January 2021, where they should be having these CPT. Anyway, that item with no CPT code, $65,782.82. And so this estimate had that they were going to be billing the insurance almost $97,000. So the estimated patient responsibility was $9,190.94. So with our social determinants of health and demographics, please answer me, how are these people that live here going to be able to afford these amounts? And so affordable health care, yes. We could do things, yes. So I hope I keep getting to meet with some of you that I haven't been able to meet with you, but think of those numbers. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir? And if anybody else on this side wants to speak, go ahead and make your way down and just sit at the front here.
One word. Fentanyl. Fentanyl. Fentanyl.
Sir, can you say your name, please?
I'm Dr. Paul Funk, and I'm concerned about our town just like everybody else
Sir,
is.
please speak directly into the microphone. Thank
Concerned
you.
about our town like all the rest of you, and I think we need to frame the questions and the answers based on the biggest problem right now, which is fentanyl. It just hit this nation like a tidal wave. 200 people a day are dying from it. A lot of the crime is driven by it. So come back next week or next time we meet with some ideas about how to address the fentanyl pandemic. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Hello. My name is Dylan Davis. I am a mother of 3 children under the age of 3. I am a full-time student at Mexico State University, and I am a full-time special education teacher with LCPS. I have spent every second of my precious free time, which is not very much, advocating for the rights of the Palestinian people. I know that a lot of people in this room feel it is not our duty to worry about matters happening outside of our town, but I would argue that these people are not accessing their humanity. We bring to you today requests to bring forward a resolution in support of an immediate and permanent ceasefire. We are a decentralized, informal community group of concerned people who demand no more violence in our name, being funded by our government with public money. We have collected over 350 signatures from Las Cruces residents who also call on you to support an immediate ceasefire and to put an end to the ongoing terror, destruction, and humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. You don't have to take our word for it about this being a genocide, or about how the actions of Israel, with full United States support, are in violation of international human rights law. National, international, Jewish, and Israeli human rights organizations and media outlets have been documenting this crisis for decades. I'm sure many people in this room and in this town are waiting on us to get tired of protesting, petitioning, and speaking on this matter, and I can assure you that that will not happen. Let Gaza live and support an immediate ceasefire.
Thank you. All right, anybody else on this side?
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Enrique Salas, and I just want to say one thing. And Chief Story, you're doing a great job. You got thrown into a huge mess here, not even first year. I just want to say that qualified immunity, when it was taken away, tied the hands of all kinds of police officers because they don't want to do the job for fear of retaliation by attorneys. And you guys, as our leaders, our voice, have the ability to pressure the people up north that make these laws to repeal that. And you need to do that so that our officers can do the job that we've asked them to do. Chief Story, we do love you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is that our last person on this side? Okay, thank you. We will go ahead and move on with acceptance of the agenda. We need a slight change for item 7.3.
I move we accept the agenda, moving item 7.3 to be heard at the top of discussion ordinances, section 7, please.
Thank you, Councillor.
Second, Graham.
Thank you. Christine?
This is on the motion to accept the agenda as presented with item 7.3 to be heard first. Councillor McClure?
Yes.
Councillor Matisse is absent. Councillor Graham?
Yes.
Councillor Cran?
Yes.
Councillor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Okay. Sorry, let me get my bearings here. Okay. All right, we're going to go to 7.3 first. That is Council Bill number 24020, ordinance number 3062, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of sale of City of Las Cruces, New Mexico taxable general obligation improvement bond series 2024 in the principal amount of $6 million payable from ad valorem taxes levied on the taxable property within the city, levied without limit as to rate or amount, providing for the form, certain terms and conditions of the bonds, the manner of this execution, and the method and of security for repayment thereof. Christine, do I have to read this whole thing? Is that okay, Erica? Can you take it away?
Move to approve, but
Thank you.
I need to hear that again.
Stop.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Councillor Graham.
Second, Corin.
Thank you. Okay, Erica, now you may take it away.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Erica Hawkes, Treasurer. The ordinance before you is to authorize the issuance and sale of 6 million taxable general obligation bonds. Voters approved 4 general obligation bonds in the November 8th, 2022 election. The total amount approved was $23 million, $10 million for a new fire station, $5 million to continue the East Mesa Public Recreation Facility, $6 million for affordable housing, and $2 million for park improvements. This is the second and final general obligation bond issuance. $6 million of the affordable housing bonds will be used to provide resources to plan, design, construct, acquire, and preserve housing affordable for low to moderate income households, including acquisition of land if necessary. The ordinance authorizes the city manager and city financial service director to approve within the following parameters. The par value cannot exceed $6 million, the interest rate cannot be above 10%, and the maturity date no later than August 1st, 2043. The bonds are payable from property taxes, and the bonds are expected to be sold in a public competitive sale. Here are your standard council options, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Erica. Yes, Councillor Corin.
Thank you, Erica. This is a great presentation, and being an interest rate nerd, I'm really excited that we're doing this at this time. I'm curious if you can tell us, I know timeliness is a big variable, but why this moment to sell them? And I would appreciate if you would be willing to share.
Councillor Coran, I spoke with our financial advisor earlier, and basically we try to set up this to get a good rate, but we can never predict what's going to happen in the market. We can just do our best estimate. So he estimated about a 5.3 to 5% rate for these bonds that will be sold March 14th.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. I appreciate you sharing and paying attention and keeping track of and educating me about how this works. So thank you again, Ms. Hawkes.
Absolutely agreed. Yes, Councillor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Ms. Hawkes. So the 5.3 rate, and you say, does that go away like the pumpkin goes away in Cinderella on March 14? Was it guaranteed through March 14? Or how does that work?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councillor Flores, that's an estimate. We can't really predict what's going to happen on the market, but that's our best estimate this time.
So what if we agree to that now?
That is actually not the interest rate that we are going to pay on these bonds. Through the competitive sale, we set a time and date, and we get bids from brokers and banks, and then we just accept the bid with the lowest interest rate.
Which could be anything. Lowest relative to 5.3 or just lowest? Just lowest.
It's just the lowest. It
Yeah.
could be lower than that. We can't go above the 10% though per the parameters set in the ordinance.
So why is March 14, 2024 crucial?
It is,
Or
let me
timely?
call Eric to help with that.
Oh, he's the one that,
Yeah, I don't know where the exact date came from, but I'm assuming it has to do with the market.
yeah, well, always the market, but thank you.
Hi, Eric, don't forget to state your name.
Yes. I think this works. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. I think it's afternoon. Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. We are the city's municipal advisor. So we looked at selling the bonds in and around this time. Interest rates really hit a high in the November timeframe. Rates have since come down from that point with the idea that the Federal Reserve was going to start pivoting from raising interest rates to actually cutting interest rates. Based upon the economic data that we've received at the beginning of the year, the labor market is still incredibly strong. The Fed's sort of key inflationary factors are kind of staying where they're at, and so instead of the Federal Reserve anticipating, this is all of course anticipated, that they might lower the rate 2 or 4 times this year. Based upon how strong the economy is, they may not even lower the interest rate. Where rates are, because they've come off their highs, we recommended a spring sale, and the sale does coincide with the obviously the approval of the city council. The interest rate, as Ms. Hawkins was talking about, that is set based upon the bids that we receive on a week from this Thursday. So we're going to post the preliminary offering document this Thursday. Then notice gets sent out to investment banks all across the country, inviting them to bid on the city's general obligation bonds. Note that these are taxable bonds because of the way that the proceeds are being used. This is a little bit different than other general obligation bonds, which have been sold on a tax-exempt basis, which usually come with a lower interest rate. So we estimate that the interest rate is about 5.3%, and that's based upon what current taxable sales, similar to what the city is rated. The city just affirmed its AA2 rating from Moody's, so congratulations on that. That's terrific. And so that's what we estimate. Of course, we can see interest rates fluctuate significantly, even on a day-to-day basis, depending upon what kind of economic information is being released. But we anticipate that it's going to be in and around like a 20 to 30 basis point range from that 5.3%. So.
Okay, so what if we say, yes, go ahead, and then the interest rates shoot up? What if they go up? Are you still authorized to proceed?
Yes.
Or how does that work? Our attorney, maybe our attorney or our city manager. Say we give you.
I think he was going to answer it.
Oh, perdón.
So there are parameters that are laid out in the ordinance that are before you. So the interest rate can't exceed 10%. Now we think it will come in way below that. But the city has the option, should we receive really unfavorable interest rates. So if we're receiving a rate that's around 7%, which is way higher than current market conditions, we can reject all bids. We don't have to accept any of the bids. The city is not tied into whoever provides the lowest bid come Thursday. We anticipate that it's going to be much lower than that, right around the 5.3%. But there have been periods of time when there are significant market disruptions, especially during the onset of the pandemic, where you had issuers that saw really crazy bids. We rejected those bids, and then we went back out a few weeks or maybe a month later to issue those bonds. The the city has that flexibility. So this delegation, I believe, is good for 120 days. And so you have some flexibility should the markets really, be in a really bad situation, or you're not receiving the bids you should. We can just reject all bids and go back out to the market at a point where the markets are more stable. We don't anticipate that happening. We do anticipate fairly stable market conditions between now and the time that you sell bonds.
And
How long
Councilor
has it
Flores,
been?
City Manager would like to add something to your
Okay.
question.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Pro Tem, Councilor Flores. One other thing I wanted to do is just make a point of clarification too with the reason you mentioned that the first question was just a good one, especially for the public, of why now, what's the magic date of March 14th. As you can recall, and the public may recall, we chose to push off this particular part of our GO bond and not issue it at that initially, not necessarily because we were chasing rates. That's really maybe a secondary reason that we're hoping maybe as we pushed it off further enough that when the time came for us to issue the debt that rates would lower. And I think it has from the time that we first talked about this. But the whole reason for us pushing it over is that we didn't want to issue debt and then have that debt sitting and us paying interest, paying this debt back while we were waiting for projects to get moving. And so that's the primary reason for us not issuing the debt sooner. And as we're getting in, you see some of the groundbreaking, and we're moving in with some of our affordable housing projects. We're in a position now to be able to say, you know what, we're gonna need this money sooner than later. And so we're just issuing the debt because we need the debt. And whatever the market is the market based upon our bond rating. We're gonna have a pretty good, I can say, maybe a year or two ago, if you told me 5.2%, I would have thrown up. But right now, that's what the market is for it. And again, that's the longer we can prolong the need to issue debt, the better it's been for us. But that's what the market is, and for our bond rating it's a really good bond rating for a city our size and our situation. I think it was just one or two steps below a AAA. I mean, and so it's a really good time, not necessarily because of the interest rate, but because we're going to need that money. And so the 10% is a huge parameter, but we'll certainly not issue. I mean, we'll come back. Our recommendation will not be to issue debt if it's anywhere near close to that. We'll figure something out with what we have, but just wanted to put that, maybe that answers some questions, even for the public listening in.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Peely. It does answer a lot of questions, and I think the most important part of that is that there are projects that are ready to go, and that's really the fundamental reason, I think. Well, yeah. So I'm sorry I asked you. I should have asked him. But thank you very much, the two of you, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you both. Any more questions from the council? Is there any members of the public that would like to give any comment? Christine?
This is on the motion to approve ordinance 3062. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse is absent. Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thanks, Christine. All right, item 7.1, this one's nice and short. Resolution number 24-089, a resolution adopting the City of Las Cruces Affordable Housing Investment Strategy.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem.
Sorry, Natalie, we need a motion.
Oh, sorry.
So moved. Second?
Seconded by Corin.
I don't think you can move in second at the same time, Councilor Flores. No. Thank you. Go ahead, Natalie.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, Natalie Green, your revitalization administrator for the record. The resolution before you today is to adopt the Affordable Housing Investment Strategy. Just a little background on today's action. The city contracted with Project Moxie, who's a regional affordable housing consultant, The reason we contracted with them, in addition to the GO bond, which was adopted in November 2022, but we also wanted to evaluate our program based on the post-pandemic housing environment. As we all know, it's been a very volatile market. Housing projects across the board have changed. So part of their scope was to review our existing housing programs. They did some site visits to evaluate our local context, look at our pipeline, some of our opportunities across the community. They also conducted some stakeholder and community engagement, which included a council work session in November 23. And then we also published this for a 30-day public comment period. Some additional background, just to sort of lay out the area that we're talking about. This is our housing continuum, for those that aren't familiar about it. And so when you're talking affordable housing, it could encompass all of these stations on the continuum, but the GO bond really focuses on the two teal areas, which is affordable rental housing and that first-time home ownership. So anywhere from 30% to 120% of area median income. Again, for some background for those who aren't familiar with the strategy, we received a lot of great ideas, but as Jen from Project Moxie would tell you, if there isn't a funding source or staff capacity, then it's not something that necessarily made its way into the strategy. We wanted things that were actionable, had partners, had resources, had will and capacity. The plan highlights, it's a 3-year plan to coincide with the general obligation bond. It goes from 2024 to 2027. It is made to be adaptable, so it's able to respond to both the changing market conditions and then city priorities. One of the things that we asked for is that any investments leverage other available resources. So as part of the Affordable Housing General Oversight Act, the council has mandated that we bring in at least 2 times the investment of any projects that we fund out of the trust fund. And so we want to make sure we're leveraging the sources that are out there. It did make recommendations for various investment areas. It called for the streamlining of various affordable housing programs, and most importantly, it aligns with the New Mexico Affordable Housing Act. Affordable housing is an exemption from the anti-donation as long as the projects comply with this act and the city's general oversight. The buckets for investment strategies is rental, for sale, preservation of existing units. There's some land development and then some general policy recommendations. And so sometimes these work interchangeably, but sometimes they're wholly separate and apart. Some additional highlights is that it called for increasing our tax credit development through both gap funding, land acquisition or land donation, changing our impact fee waiver policy for affordable housing and our affordable housing handbook. So those documents were adopted mid-2000s, and so they aren't really in alignment with what's happening in our current structure. It also calls for increasing our for-sale construction subsidies. One of the hardest impacted industries was the first-time home owners market. So we saw a lot of people who were just on the buffer of home ownership that we could have assisted, but then the pandemic set that goal much farther. Again, it asks us, it has some leverages, strategies to leverage private development partners. We typically partner with nonprofit development partners, but there's some opportunities as new developments come online to work with some private development partners. It did ask us to evaluate some new mortgage products. The interest rates, which we heard about earlier, are all over the place, so we want to make sure that we're able to respond to the needs of the community. There was some preservation recommendations through the rental assistance demonstration funding out of the U.S. Department of HUD, or Housing and Urban Development. And so that's particularly for dilapidated public housing, the Paseos Verdes area, MRA areas. There was a call from constituents around special needs housing, so victims of domestic violence, seniors, some housing for people with with disabilities, and so that we're able to look at some of those not necessarily with the Go Bund funding, but across all of our funding. It also asked us to implement a site selection matrix. So we have a pretty robust pipeline across the city, but we want to make sure we're evaluating where we're putting affordable housing and that we're picking the sites through this matrix. It called for increased land banking and land acquisition, again, and that's tied to the selection matrix. The next three, pre-development, infrastructure, and alignment with state and federal funding policies, kind of work interchangeably. So pre-development is not a bucket that we fund often. And then as part of the MRA areas, we want to look at infrastructure improvements for site activation. So if there's areas that have seen disinvestment or the parcels are problematic and they need infrastructure improvements or remediation to be able to put them back out to public use, we want to be able to do that. And then there's been quite a few conversations at both the state and federal level around aligning, especially zoning and land use, with state and federal goals. And so we want to make sure that we're responding to those things. So the state will condition some of their incentive fundings based on our policies. The Go Bond Fund uses, right now the current recommendation is about $4 million to our rental tax credit development program, and then $2 million to single family land acquisition and construction. This may vary by a few $100,000 just depending on some of our grant fundings that comes in. We've brought in about $3.5 million in the last year, so our goal is still to continue to bring in that funding, so it may vary from, but not by much. Our Go Bond goal was about 300 units. We anticipate hitting 800 units and leveraging about $142 million. So we are bringing well above that 2 times investment. So with that, you have your standard council options, and I'll stand for questions.
Thank you, Natalie. Yes, Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much, Ms. Green. Can you go back to, I think it was page 8 or 7? Okay. Well, let's see. I have a question, maybe it wasn't page 7. I have a question about the exception to the Anti-Donation Act. How is that circumvented, or why does it not apply, or how is it that it does not apply?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, so the state legislature adopted an exception for affordable housing. In order to be able to have an exemption, we have to, 1, have an affordable housing plan, which we do, and then we have to qualify projects through a qualifying grantee process. And so we do that call every October. We qualify either projects or developers, send that to the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority, who's the entity in charge with enforcing the Affordable Housing Act, and they work with us on qualifying those projects, and then also council action is also part of that process.
Okay, and then is that the land, is that state-owned, or is it owned by the city of Las Cruces, or is it owned by a private person?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, it can vary from project to project. In some instances, it's city land that we're activating. Many times the developers have the land already and they come to us with a proposal, and then a potential land development project in the future is state land. Through some of their leases that they're doing, the state has been working with the city of Las Cruces to mandate affordable and attainable housing on any future state land leases coming forward for approval.
Right, I know that Land Commissioner Stephanie Garcia Richard is looking also at state land being sold along with a house. Is there any development in that regard, do you know?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, I have not received an update from the State Land Office, but I will check in with them and get back to you.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Councilor Flores. Councilor Graham? Oh, my apologies, Councilor Corrin.
Okay. I'll be real quick. One thing that I did notice that in the Project Moxie report was for hotel conversions to be something that you guys we don't necessarily have the capacity to do at this time, which I understand because I think it's really complicated. But I think as part of the MRA conversation goes, I'm assuming that that's sort of a planned future expansion of these conversations. So this isn't for today, but for a future conversation. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Curran, so we did look into the hotel conversions. It wasn't something that we could reasonably put go bond dollars and move into an actionable item within the 3 years. But as we work on more specifically the West Bocacho MRA plan, that is something that we can look into. There is a funding source that we've identified. It's our community development block grant funds. The challenge with that is we use that funding to fund other things. So we would need to look at that program as a whole and figure out how to prioritize that. In addition to that, it also needs to be identified in our consolidated plan to be able to use federal funds for that process. So it's something that we'll be working with the Mayor Pro Tem on, the MRA staff on. So it's in the works, but we're attempting to identify those. And we're also watching Albuquerque. Albuquerque has done a number of motel conversions, so we like to use their lessons learned to help us develop our best practices sometimes.
Awesome, thank you. I really appreciate your presentation, answering this question, and the report, which to me really highlights all the work that you all have been doing and the ways that you leverage money. And I mean, $140 million is pretty extraordinary leveraging, as far as I know that means a lot in the hamburger. So your hamburgers are delicious. Thank you again, Natalie, for your work.
Thank you. Councilor Corn, anybody else? Yes.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Not a question, Natalie, just a comment. Also want to appreciate the thoroughness of the report, easy to understand, well put together. And I encourage anyone with an interest in this to go to the agenda packet, which is available to anyone who clicks on this meeting, and see how varied the projects we're doing for affordable housing are. Because I think the consistent conflation of affordable housing and homeless assistance, which while that is a portion of affordable housing, it's so much more. It is subsidies for land developers. It is seeing increasing financial opportunities for home buyers, leveraging more affordable mortgages. So it's everything from single-family home to multifamily housing. And I think it's just important to acknowledge that affordable housing is such a broad spectrum and helps so many people in the community of many income levels. Thanks. Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Thanks, Natalie. I also have just a couple thoughts and questions for you. I've really enjoyed working with Project Moxie. I think that was a really smart partnership. They're really knowledgeable, and I thought this process was really well done. I think in many conversations that I've been having, especially in the last few weeks, but really in the last few months, is helping people understand that so what's happening right now didn't happen in a vacuum, right? Like the deep intersectionalities of housing and mental health and substance abuse and all of those things, right? Like how deeply intersectional they are. And the context in which we are operating is that there has been a decades-long disinvestment from public housing from the federal government. And now we find ourselves post-ish COVID, where we saw rents rocket, we saw not only rents rocket, but many rental units became unavailable because people decided to sell. Like many different reasons, our gap increased, and it's getting more expensive and more expensive. And so people are finding themselves at risk of being homeless more often, or even homeless for a longer period of time because of the lack of availability. There wasn't really a question in there, Natalie. I just wanted to point that out because I think as we're having this conversation, I just want to point out that the strategies moving forward are many. There are many pieces to the puzzle, and this arguably is one of the biggest, most expensive, most time-consuming one. But I do just want to express a lot of gratitude for you and your team for doing this, and I hope that we can continue within those intersections, working more closely with the police department, with the fire department, with our economic development staff, with our community development staff, all of these to sort of break down these silos and get to some of these pieces a little bit faster. I especially am really interested in the MRA intersection of housing and infill and getting rid of blight and really reinvesting and revitalizing some of those areas. And so I know that hotel conversions have come up a lot, probably mostly from me, honestly, because I'm very well aware that motels on West Picacho especially have sort of filled a gap, that huge gap of that we're talking about. They've sort of filled it, and I think they need support as much as accountability. So I just did want to point that out, and not to focus on only the sort of no capacity areas of the strategy, but I am wondering, Natalie, when it says, when we're talking about motel conversions or mobile home park preservation, and we talk about no capacity or resources at this time, what specifically does it mean? And if it's time, it's also time, right? But I am wondering if you can expand on that.
Mayor Pro Tem, some of it's not necessarily city capacity, but either capacity at the state level where there's not necessarily state law or programming that exists yet. It also could be funding sources that don't necessarily meet the exception of anti-donation, and how do we cultivate those? So the capacity can vary. Some of it is just time for staff to research. As you know, we've taken on some pretty extensive low-income housing tax credits projects. We're about to close on one March 7th. Fingers crossed, it's been a long time coming. And so as those sort of get out the door and are on their own, we can start to look at other projects. Told the council before, we're very happy that our manager is on board, and so that has doubled our capacity to be able to research some of those more complicated issues that need a broader discussion. So you'll see a lot of that come forward. So it's not off the table, it's just not in the next couple months, but we'll get there.
Thanks, Natalie. And I think for me, it's also not necessarily priority for these pieces, but I will take it upon myself to do a little bit of research, and maybe with some advocates in the state, like the Center on Law and Poverty and others, around this mobile home park preservation, but also, I know you only say this because literally just this weekend I was talking to a federal probation officer at the track meet, EFO, that he was not at. But once people find out I'm a city councilor, they just want to tell me all the things. And so this person was telling me that they have a client at a mobile home park in my district, and the issues that they see, and I think codes would speak to that as well. And so I do feel like it's a pertinent, I wouldn't say it's like right there, right at that priority of all of these housing projects that we have, because there are many. But I would love to, in the near future, or sometime in the future, maybe have a work session discussion about how we improve situations for both landlords of mobile home parks, but certainly tenants. So I did just want to say that because it was present for me, Natalie. But that's all I have, and I just again want to thank you and your staff and Project Moxie. Anybody else on the council? Members of the public, do you have any questions or reflections on this presentation? That's too bad. All right, Christine.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 24-089. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse is absent. Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Okay, Tony, thank you. 7.2, resolution number 24090, a resolution approving a pedestrian hybrid beacon maintenance agreement between the City of Las Cruces and the New Mexico Department of Transportation to provide maintenance of the hog signal on Picacho Avenue at 4th Street. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve, Corin.
Second, Graham.
Thank you. All right, Tony.
Excuse me. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council. Tony Trevino, the Assistant Director of Public Works, for the record. So today, I have an agreement here that is with NMDOT with the pedestrian hybrid beacon, or the Hawk system, that we are going to be installing on Picacho at 4th Street as part of one of our NMDOT MAP grants. Excuse me. The Hawk signal is, again, like I said, on 4th Street and US 70. It includes the installation of a Hawk signal and roadway lighting to promote overall pedestrian safety at this location. The project is currently under contract and is anticipated to be completed in the summer of 2024. We already have a contractor on board. Right now, we're just waiting for the poles to get in, which is about a 5-month lag time. So probably not till May is when we'll get the poles in, and we'll be able to continue the construction of this project. As well as all the other traffic signals in the city that are on NMDOT right-of-way, the city of Las Cruces does maintain those. So this agreement is for us to be in a agreement with NMDOT that we have the right to go and maintain our Hawk signal and do any maintenance that's needed. Here's the location, just a big old yellow arrow showing you where we're at, and the council options.
Thanks, Tony. Any members of the council have questions? Wow. I only have one little note that in the packet it says District 2, but this is District 4. So I just want to make sure.
I will check that. I apologize.
Thank you. I just say that, Tony, because we've been having this conversation about this Hawk system for far too long for me to not give District 4 the credit it deserves. All right, thank you. Any members of the public? All right, Christine.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 24-090. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse is absent. Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you. All right, number 7.4, Council Bill number 24-021, ordinance number 3063, an ordinance approving a zone change from R3 high-density residential from South Mesquite Overlay to C1 Neighborhood Commercial District from South Mesquite Overlay. And Adam Ochoa.
Thank you, ma'am. Adam Ochoa.
Sorry, Adam, we need a motion and a second.
Oh, my apologies.
I move to hear this, accept it? No, whatever.
Thank you.
Second, Corin.
Thank you.
Now I'm on. Adam Ochoa, Community Development, for the record. Before you is a proposed zone change for a property located at 541 South Campos Street. It is essentially located what is on the northeast corner of what is Campos Street and Kansas Avenue. Subject property encompasses roughly 0.23 acres in size, and as stated before, it is zone R3, high density residential, and it is located within the South Mesquite Overlay Zoning District, or SMO. Currently, there is a single-family residence on the property. The subject property itself is directly adjacent, essentially about one lot away from what is a mixed-use corridor, which is the Lowman Avenue mixed-use corridor, as called out by Elevate Las Cruces. And the subject property has frontage along a collector roadway, which is Campos Street, and just a typical local roadway, which would be Kansas Avenue. Showing the subject property here, as you can see, zone R3, directly to the west, just nothing but commercial high intensity to the west and to the north, some commercial medium intensity to the north as well, and the more of the neighborhood single-family residential multifamily to the south and to the east. Showing here the subject property with that home on that property, compass back, just giving where that was, and just another lot away where the former Church's Chicken used to be as well. Excuse me, here are some just street views. This is looking at the property along Campos Street itself, and this is the intersection of Campo going north and south here, and Kansas showing here. Essentially, the applicant proposed a zone change for the subject property to C1, which is a neighborhood commercial district as called out by the South Mesquite Overlay. Essentially, what they're looking to do is proposing a retail establishment to be run out of the property. This would allow the property owner to expand beyond just the residential and very limited service land uses that are currently allowed under its existing R3 zoning district, and just trying to get a more range of actual commercial uses and service uses under that C1 zoning designation. Additionally, on top of that, the applicant stated will provide kind of like a non-residential, low-intensity transition between what is the C3 commercial high-intensity, C2 commercial medium-intensity to the north and west, to the neighborhood to the south and east. Public notice was sent out as required by our ordinances. Staff did receive several phone calls and emails in opposition of the zone change, including I believe you all did get a petition submitted as well as a breakdown by residents of the area, essentially stating why, from a comprehensive standpoint, that this zone change should not occur. Staff did also receive a few phone calls and emails actually in support of the proposed zone change as well. As per the 2001 zoning code, as amended, any zone change is required to go before the Historic Preservation Committee to make a recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a proposed zone change. On December 6th of 2023, the Historic Preservation Commission did meet on this. After lengthy discussions, the HPC did vote to recommend denial by a vote of 0 to 4. To clarify, what the staff report says is there is actually one commissioner was absent, and there are 2 commissioner vacancies in the HPC right now. No findings were provided, but during the meeting, the historic preservation specialist did provide findings for denial, and that's essentially what the discussions were at the HPC. The proposed zone change that moved forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and on December 19th, 2023, P&Z did meet. Again, after lengthy discussion and public participation, the Planning and Zoning Commission did vote to recommend denial for the proposed zone change by a vote of 0 to 6 with 1 commissioner vacancy. Findings brought before by the Planning and Zoning Commission were that the zone change request does not follow the intent and purpose of the Mesquite Historic District Design Plan. It based it on the recommendation of the Historic Preservation Commission. Additionally, the Planning and Zoning Commission did state that they believe it does not meet the intent and purpose of Elevate Las Cruces comprehensive plan. With that, your options today are 1, to vote yes and approve the proposed zone change, 2, to vote no and deny the proposed zone change as recommended by not only the Historic Preservation Commission, but also the Planning and Zoning Commission, 3, to vote to amend, or 4, table postpone and direct staff and the applicant accordingly. That is the conclusion of my presentation. I stand for questions.
Thank you, Adam. And just, these are always tricky. So yes means we're approving the request, and no means we're upholding the P&Z and HPC denials.
Of denials, that is correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, questions?
Well, I'm even
Councilor
more
Flores?
confused now. I think we all don't, I do not understand the options. Can we go back to page 9? So on December 19, the P&Z voted to recommend denial of the zone change.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flotter, yes, ma'am. They voted unanimously to recommend denial to the Planning and Zoning Committee, to the City Council for the proposed zone change.
Okay, so a yes vote is to agree with the P&Z.
No, ma'am. If you look at the...
that's why I'm asking.
Sure.
I mean, you know, preguntando se llega a Roma.
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, yes, ma'am. To clarify, let's see here. If you vote yes, this will approve the proposed ordinance and approve the zone change from R3 to C1. If you vote no, you would deny and upholding what the Planning and Zoning Commission voted and HPC, ma'am.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Sure
Adam.
thing, no problem, ma'am.
And thank you for your patience, residents. Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you for
Chair.
your clarifying question, Councilor Flores. Anybody else? Yes, Councilor McClure.
I have a question about R3 zoning. Are there any type of business or commercial opportunities allowable in that?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor McClure, there are actually, under the South Mesquite overlay, very limited, service-related uses are permitted on the subject property as is, which would include, I believe, an art gallery is one, service-related as in barber shop, beauty salon, and similar types of uses. Limited offices are allowed. I believe dental and doctor's offices are permitted there as well. But that's really it from a standpoint, from a service and commercial standpoint. That's all that's permitted in the R3.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you, Councillor McClure. Yes, go ahead, Councillor Graham.
Thank you so much. Not to do a spoiler here, but I have no intention of voting against the denial that both the Historic Planning Commission made and the Planning and Zoning Commission. Read through all of the notes, received the petition, and again, I know we say this every time, but when you email us and you don't get a response on something on which we're called to vote, that's because we can't respond. So I hope that nobody feels overlooked or slighted by a lack of response. But although I do agree with this, I wanted to just voice a little bit of opinion on some of the details that were included in the pushback to this proposed zoning change. And I think I'm always interested when people will kind of send the rhetorical question, would you want this in your neighborhood? Because this is my neighborhood. I live right on the border of District 3 and District 1. I quickly Google mapped, and I'm about 0.6 of a mile from the proposed zoning change. And a lot of the pushback, and I expect to hear, and I respect that I'm going to hear in public comment too, was that this was a proposed cannabis dispensary. That was the stated purpose, and there was a lot of pushback about the idea that such a business will ruin quality of life in the neighborhood, will compromise the feeling of place, it's unsafe. And again, not only do I live about a half mile from this one, about a year ago, a dispensary opened 1/10 of a mile from my house. I also Google mapped that one. I live in a C2 zoning, so lots of allowable commercial, residential. I'm surrounded by some small businesses, some other single-family homes. And just from my anecdotal one-person sample, I've noticed no deterioration in my neighborhood with the move-in of this business. It took up a storefront that had been empty for some time. So all that to say, just, a gentle reminder that when we make these decisions, it is not, the phrase of the day, it's not happening in a vacuum. These are our neighborhoods. This is my neighborhood. But again, I respect everything that I read, everything that you've presented, Adam. And thank you, because I think your initial over-explanation of how we're going to vote was for me, because I'm always the one who's like, okay, wait, yes means yes or yes means no. So thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. In solidarity, it's not just for you, I promise. That's very confusing to me as well. I have some questions as well before we go to public comment. Adam, on C1, the C1 zoning in the Mesquite overlay, there are C1 designations, yes, in the Mesquite overlay?
Mayor Pro Tem, there are currently some C1 zoning designations in the South Mesquite area that fit within that neighborhood zoning designation. They're a little further north along Campo. There's a couple, I believe, on Mesquite as well. Nothing really on this side. The commercial essentially ends along Loman in this area of the South Mesquite overlay.
Okay, and so C1, so this does have some allowable commercial uses as it stands right now, correct?
Mayor Pro Tem, that is correct.
Like what?
So again, very limited. Again, an art gallery, more service-oriented, doctor's office, dental office, a beauty salon's allowed there, and there's similar uses, so barber shops, spas, things like that will be permitted on the subject property by right now.
And so the difference there is the rate of customers, like the traffic that a business would bring?
Mayor Pro Tem, when that section of the code was rewritten, they saw those as kind of a minimal impact types of uses by appointments, if you will. When it comes to C1, now you got yourself actual retail where people come in and out as is, or when business hours are open, essentially. So it is a step up, if you will, when it comes to intensity on the property, ma'am.
So let's say, a dispensary does not qualify for the current designation. What else does not qualify for a current designation?
Mayor Pro Tem, so any type of retail-related land uses, no restaurants, no cafes are not permitted under R3. Again, essentially the 5 that I stated is all they're really allowed to do. On top of that, they are allowed to do by right home occupations as well, but they'd have to live there, and then just a portion of the home be used for, again, an office use, music lessons, that type of stuff. But again, it's very limited as to what they do as compared to what a C1 would allow.
Interesting. Okay. Curious, what about an Airbnb?
Mayor Pro Tem, Airbnb would be permitted as well, ma'am.
Okay, interesting. Do we know the applicant, the owner, did they inherit is it theirs for a long time? Did they recently buy it? Like, how did they come about the property? Do we know?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm not exactly sure about that. I believe they might be here and they might be able to answer that question for you if you like.
Okay, great. And if they are here, I would love to know if there's been any, I know this neighborhood's tight-knit neighborhood. They've worked a long time to have that designation and to protect that designation. If there was any conversation between the applicant and the residents and the neighbors around, what could essentially be put at this location.
Mayor Pro Tem, I think there were some minor discussions. I don't know if they had an actual public meeting with the neighborhood or anything like that. But by all means, I could probably answer those questions for you if you like, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, if there's nothing else from the council, I will call for public input, including the applicant and of course the other neighbors with the petition. The residents, correct. And then I would just, come on down. We're just gonna, yeah. Can you raise your hand if you're speaking on this issue? A little bit lopsided. Okay, so I'm gonna come over here and then I'm gonna end over here. Come on down. Don't forget to state your name and talk clearly into the microphone, please. And we'll give 3 minutes.
Mayor Pro Tem, city councilors, city staff, and community members. I am Irene Oliver Lewis, and I live on Kansas Avenue, Lot 45 of the original Las Cruces townside plat of 1849. My family has lived at this address for 88 years. I am here today to urge you to deny the zone change for 541 South Campo from residential to commercial. I not only represent myself today, but I also represent 413 concerned citizens, residents who signed this petition asking that the city council to deny this zone change. A group of 8 women in our neighborhood organized the drive to show commitment to the historic preservation, which led to this petition. The 413 people in this petition represent the Mesquite Street surrounding neighborhood and or their family members who grew up in the neighborhood, individuals who are concerned to keep our original town site intact, and citizens who are opposed to commercial businesses appropriating existing historic homes for use not represented in the South Mesquite Street overlay. A former city mayor, a former state senator, a former state representative, 2 former city councilors, a former DA county sheriff, and numerous other concerned citizens signed this petition. I echo the 413 people in this petition who urge you to deny this zone change to maintain the historic nature of our neighborhood. Mil gracias. And I want to say that the chair of the P&Z said they had been very supportive of cannabis, but they have never been supportive of cannabis in a neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go to the third row. On this side.
My name is Rosemary Leva, and I would like to share with you some bit of history about my neighborhood, okay? I want to show why we need to keep our neighborhood intact. In our neighborhood, everyone knew their neighbors, and in some cases we were related to them, either by blood or religious manner. Everyone helps each other in any way they could, whether it's taking food to the sick, or an elderly person, or watching out for the kids in the neighborhood. Many of us attended the same school as our parents, and in some cases, live in the same homes our grandparents built, adding rooms when necessary as families grew. I'm the fourth generation of my family to live in this area. My great-grandfather, Baltasar Madrid, and my great-grandmother, Clara Martinez, lived here in 1876, and they raised their family here. My grandfather built their home on the land where my home is now, but then the street was called Convent Street. Now it's called Kansas. Baltasar worked as a farmer, a blacksmith, and did construction work. He farmed the land that is now the Citizens Bank drive-through window section. When he harvested his crops, he gave the food to the nuns of the Loreto Convent, later known as the Loreto Academy. My grandfather, Ramon, son of Baltasar, also farmed this land and gave food from his harvest to the Franciscans that occupied the former Loreto Academy. On the corner of Calle al Camposanto, now called Campo Street, lived his brother, and next to him lived the Diaz Martinez family, owners of the Golden Crust Bakery. To the left of my grandfather Ramon's home lived John and Doña Juanita Fitch, grandparents to Irene Lewis Oliver and Sylvia Camuñas. The homes on the corner of Campo and Kansas were built on higher land, and no effort was made to lower or level the land due to the results of the flood of 1875, when the neighborhood and majority of the city was destroyed through the flood. Neighbors like the Lopez family that lived in the house on the corner of Kansas and Campo, they had an open driveway that let the Romero family, the Camuñas family, and those living in the apartments behind the Lopez house enter to get to their homes. People could and did take the shortcut to the Contreras house by cutting across the Lopez driveway to Loman, then a two-way street to the Greyhound bus station or to the Golden Crust Bakery. On the corner of Kansas and San Pedro, there was a little store run by Tomas and Josie Aragon, where we could purchase small items needed such as bread, milk, and of course, candy and sodas. The home where the store was is now being renovated by Faustino Zamora, whose parents owned the store and the home attached to it. For bigger food items, we had Ellen Acres on Loman. On the corner of San Pedro is the home of Eugene Van Patten, a local businessman in the early years of Las Cruces. Changes to the neighborhood will soon cause this history to be forgotten and the close relationships with neighbors to unravel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for respecting the clock, even though it wasn't running. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you. You're fired, city manager. Too soon? Nobody laughed. It's too soon. Okay. Hello.
Good afternoon. My name is Celeste Conrad. I will be reading a statement prepared by Josephine Lannert, who's having some voice issues, so I'm going to read her statement. I oppose rezoning the property at 541 South Campo. I live in the Josefa Martinez Holguin house at 315 South Mesquite. 4 generations have lived in this historic adobe home, hand-built in 1912, the same year New Mexico became a state. I have personally seen how a residential street in the historic Mesquite area can change with commercial zoning. Rezoning has brought many changes to Mesquite Street. These are changes in neighborhood character, safety, and the loss of history. Mesquite Street is now zoned C1. In the 1950s, Mesquite Street was primarily residential with a few family businesses. There was a nearby butcher, a variety store, and a baker. Narrow streets and a shortage of parking kept businesses local. Eventually, the butcher talked neighbors into allowing Mesquite Street to become designated commercial. When visiting my grandmother Josefa 60 years ago, Mesquite Street was an unpaved dirt road. Neighbors knew each other, families had strong roots in the community, many of us living there today, and still keep those roots dear. I feel fortunate to now live in my grandmother's house. I have personally seen many changes due to the commercialization of Mesquite Street. My elderly mother can no longer cross the street to Nopalitos restaurant without fear due to heavy traffic. Entering my driveway, vehicles behind me become impatient, forgetting that there are still residential homes on Mesquite. Even with street signs showing that Mesquite is on the Camino Real, speeding drivers do not respect the neighborhood. Vehicles park on both sides of Mesquite, obstructing lines of sight for pedestrians and other vehicles. Once infrequent, accidents are more common now, especially at cross streets. Parked delivery trucks limit what other drivers can see and sometimes block driveways. Commercial vehicles bring diesel fumes and noise too. More important still is this. Prior to commercial zoning of Mesquite Street, neighbors knew each other. With more commercial activity allowed, residents no longer know who belongs in the neighborhood.
Thank you. And if you have more, you can always send it to the council or to the city clerk. Yeah, thank you. Next. Yeah, if you want to come down and sort of just prepare to speak down here on the front, couple front rows, that'd be great. You got it. Come on down.
As we get older, we get weaker. Mayor, city councilors, my name is Sylvia Camuñas. I am here today in opposition of the zone change at 541 South Campo from R3 to C1. Reason for my opposition is that staff is leading you to believe that the zone is valid, as there is already commercial businesses on South Campo. These businesses are Citizens Bank and what was Church's Chicken. These businesses appear to be part of South Campo Street. The physical and legal address of Citizens Bank is 505 South Main Street. The physical and legal address of what was Church's Chicken is 300 East Loman Avenue. Main Street and Loman Avenue are zoned commercial, not Campo south of Loman. North of Loman, Campo is commercial. Commerce is a huge issue within the city. In this South Mesquite ordinance allows businesses well over 30 types listed in the ordinance. These businesses are known as cottage industry. Therefore, a zone change is not necessary. I invite you to read the SMO ordinance online, section 38-49.2 SMO. The south side of Campo is protected by the SMO as a neighborhood intact. Changing the zoning is disrespecting and slowly dwindling away all of the Mesquite Street Historic District original town site of Las Cruces. As former president of Las Esperanzas, I had a dream of preservation and protection of the original neighborhood in Las Cruces. My vision is still there. Troy Ainsworth, Historic Preservation Specialist, presented facts on the zone change to the public and to the Historic Preservation Commission. His presentation was comprehensive and accurate. He clearly explained the reason for recommending rejection of the zone change. Historic Preservation rejected the zone change. Planning and Zoning also rejected it unanimously. Now, as she said, she's got 413 signatures. They represent every one of you councilors' district. So now it is up to you elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up. If there are other folks, actually on both sides, you can go ahead and come on down.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilors. My name is Deb Dennis, and I've lived in Las Cruces for 45 years. I ask that you deny this ordinance for 4 reasons. First, the analysis by city planners is flawed. If one actually looks at the South Mesquite neighborhood plan maps, they clearly indicate that the property is not adjacent or transitional to a residential area, but in fact is embedded in an area set aside for protection as a nationally recognized historic residential neighborhood. Second, your vote for a zone change will be precedent-setting and irrevocable. Never before has a single property been plucked out of a protected historic residential area to be zoned commercial. You will have initiated the unraveling of our oldest neighborhood. The zone change will have a domino effect, with one residential property after another being lost to commercial enterprise until the 175-year-old original town site is no more. Is this how we elevate Las Cruces? Third, council has repeatedly been presented, even today, with information detailing the need for affordable housing. Converting this property from high residential use to commercial is counterproductive. Fourth, the owners are not being denied the opportunity to operate a business. The South Mesquite overlay identifies 113 types of businesses permitted in this residential zone. During the earlier hearings, the owners repeatedly indicated that they have considered operating a barbershop. This is one of many cottage industries currently permitted and welcomed by neighbors. Because the Las Cruces community values historic preservation, we residents are bewildered by city actions to the contrary, such as allowing the Amador Hotel project to languish for 15 years since City Council declared it the southern gateway to a revitalized downtown. And we mourn the loss of historic homes, while demolition by neglect is the primary operating principle for the Community Development Department to dismantle the Mesquite Historic District one property at a time. By this petition, with over 400 signatures in opposition to this ordinance, we demonstrate that we will not silently condone the continued degradation and loss of our shared cultural history and unique heritage. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on down.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and councilors. This is Faith Hudson for the record. City staff has presented the argument to both the HPC and P&Z that the zone change of 541 South Campo is both in character and compatible with the Mesquite Historic District because Campo Street is dominated by a variety of commercial, office, and retail land uses that buffer the various types of residential housing in the area. Staff has stated that this property is adjacent to a burgeoning commercial district and that commercial operations are to be welcomed. This is true on North Campo Street, but there are no commercial buildings south of Loman that have a Campo address. The Loreto Shopping Center has its back to Campo. Its address is on Main Street. Sutherland's also has its back to Campo. Its address is El Paseo. And the El Paseo Plaza, where Crunch Fitness is, has a Wyatt Drive address. 541 South Campo is within the federal portion of the Mesquite Historic District. The federal, it is part of the original town site. Changing the zone would fail to protect the historic integrity of this structure that was built in 1910. And since practical access to the property is on Kansas Street, not Campo, the proposed zone change actually encroaches into the historic neighborhood and leapfrogs residential commercial use onto a uniquely residential street. The Mesquite Historic District Neighborhood Design Plan states that the blocks south of Loman Avenue, where this property is located, are proposed for residential use with the objective of encouraging new, single-family residential infill. The plan also states that this should be able to be accomplished without disrupting the historic fabric of the neighborhood. This house is a house, and it should remain a house, especially considering all the discussion on affordable housing. If a goal of the city government is to encourage economic growth, then I argue cultural and heritage tourism should be promoted rather than commercial rezone. Millions of hours and dollars have been spent developing Section 38, which is the South Mesquite Overlay, Chapter 40, which is a Historic Preservation Ordinance, Elevate Las Cruces, and the Downtown Master Plan. All of these documents advocate for the preservation of our historic buildings and historic districts. Perhaps my most compelling argument against this rezone is Objective 3 of the Mesquite Historic Neighborhood Design Plan, which states, I quote, "Prevent Las Cruces downtown development and traffic flow imperatives from encroaching on and destroying the Mesquite neighborhood." I ask you as a council to please deny this zone change. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, honorable councilors and city manager, for listening to all of us. My name is Olivia Nevares Garcia. I am a former judge here in Las Cruces, having been a judge for 18 years. I was born at the corner of Amador and Church Street, 2 blocks from this location. I am here on behalf of my dear cousins. When I was little, I would walk 2 blocks to my grandparents' house, which is now the home that Sylvia and Irene live in. And it's a wonderful neighborhood. I love the old neighborhood, and I've thought about buying a house in the area, but I have a house in Santa Fe and I have a house here, so at my age, I can't do it anymore. I was born 81 years ago in that neighborhood, and I'm asking you, please deny this petition or request to rezone this area. These are dear, wonderful old people living there that want to remain in a peaceful neighborhood, and I fear for my cousins who have been there for so long and want to stay in their home. I'd like to read something to you that I did a little research on cannabis, and I would like you to look it up. It's in the internet. 2 years since cannabis has been legalized, this is in New York, only 26 dispensaries, and just 11 of them in New York City have actually opened their doors. Think about that. And we have, it seems, a cannabis shop or dispensary in almost every corner of Las Cruces. Do we need this? Let's protect our children. I have seen more violations, traffic violations, more accidents, more speeding, running red lights, and I wonder why, since cannabis was opened. Thank you very much for listening to me. Please consider denying this request.
Thank you. Anybody else? Come on down. Come on, you can come on down so that you can be ready to go.
I was hoping to be able to speak after the owners or supporters of this
Go ahead.
proposed zone change.
Go ahead, since you're up here.
Yes.
Don't forget your name.
I sometimes do. My name is Joe Ruprecht. I'm a Los Cruces resident, long time. I want to mention just a few things that were brought out here. Several weeks ago, when I talked to John Castillo, city staff member in community development, about what was the next step after P&Z, after first HPC recommended denial, after P&Z recommended denial, the applicants did not get a single vote in favor of approval. And I talked to John and I said, so why does this have to go to city council? Isn't it a dead issue? He said, no, because of the nature of what's being asked for, it has to be brought to city council. And I said, well, what can we expect? Well, and he said, well, city staff will present what we basically presented already. So we're not presenting anything new. And that's basically true. If you look through your packet, most all of that is from before any public discussion or any discussion by the HPC commissioners or by the P&Z commissioners. Most of it was done weeks ago before those discussions. But what John told me to expect on the opposition side, on the side I'm speaking for, is that this was to gauge the contentiousness of this issue. What would happen if the zone change were approved? How contentious would that be? And I want to just clearly say to you that what you've heard so far in terms of the personal comments and in terms of the petition that's being presented to you by many people in the city, not just neighbors saying, I don't want this here, but many people who are concerned about the preservation of historic districts in this city at this time, it is very contentious. And one of the things I want to point out as left out from what, well, I want to compliment Mr. Ochoa for some of the corrections he made to the earlier materials. He has corrected an issue about how the vote for HPC was reported in your packet. He has corrected a couple of other things, but he has maintained a language suggesting that there's very limited uses for, in this R3, for home businesses. That's not true. As you've heard two of the other speakers say, there's over 100, well over 100 allowed businesses, and they're outlined in the land use development pages. It covers like 3 pages of material specifying those businesses. Also, one of the comments from the dais was that much time had been spent on cannabis and the proposed use of this as a cannabis business. That was not the issue at HPC. We were very careful, both the public and the members of the commission, to focus on simply the zone change toward any commercial use outside of R3 and the home businesses or cottage industries. It is not an issue per se about cannabis. It is an issue about setting a precedent by allowing this zone change affecting the Mesquite Overlay District. And that precedent was emphasized in the P&Z hearings, and that also does not come through on page 2 in your summary of the P&Z.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, come on. Come on over. Please state your name.
My name's Troy Miller. I'm one of the owners there at 541 South Campo.
My name is Sandra Calderon. I'm one of the owners also.
I don't know if you guys want to ask questions first and then...
No, go ahead, but make sure you speak directly into the microphone.
Okay. Again, I'm Sandra Calderon, and I do have a few concerns about, okay, first of all, the first 2 meetings, I did feel right off the bat that the counselors were gonna say no because of the cannabis thing. It was just saying cannabis, and I can see the reaction in their faces, like, okay, no, no, no. So I knew it already. And on the historical part, we have a lot of citizens here that, to my point of view, are, okay, historical, family, homes, but I would like to know, of course not right now, they're not gonna answer me, but they don't know me. I've been there since 1999. My kids they grew up there. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna get really, one of my kids, my 27-year-old, died 2 years ago. And the reason why we want the cannabis store is because he was already going through the process of opening his cannabis store. So when he died, I just want to continue his dream, his doing. But a lot of people here is like, okay, our neighborhood. I mean, when my son died, I didn't see any of my neighbors come to my house and say, Sandra, I'm sorry for what happened with your son. So if there's so much community in my neighborhood, why didn't anybody come up to me and say, hey, I knew who your son was personally. I've been there since 1999. They grew up there. They roamed those streets like they say. Okay? They've told you, they've roamed their streets. They don't know not one single teenager from back there. I'm pretty sure they can't come up here and say my kid's name, my neighbor's names. So where is the neighborhood that they so-called, hey, this is our community, this is my historic. They talk about grandparents, great-grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Do they really know their neighborhood? Or to me, it's like, okay, you want to preserve that, but you don't even know who we are. And yet you're denying us from that, for me doing my son's dream. Another thing they just said is, and I'm sorry, I'm going to run out of time already, so I don't know if I can continue.
Can you just finish your thought, please, and then I'm going to allow him 3 minutes.
He can finish,
Okay,
whatever.
go ahead, sir. Please state your name.
My name's Troy Miller, and like she said, we're trying to go with what our son wanted to do, because he was pursuing it. But the big thing with the zone change, you have to have a zone change for commercial to run in a cannabis. We're not stuck on doing a cannabis store at that location, because we have talked about doing other businesses there. Like the neighbor said, we've talked about a barber shop. That's one of them. One of our sons looking at maybe doing a mechanic shop. But the thing is, under the R1, if you try to go get grants or funding or special financing and stuff like that, you're more likely to get that kind of funding if it's a commercial location, because of the way the building's built, the codes, everything has to be a certain way for funding. So we're not opposed to, okay, we can't run a cannabis store, but we were gonna run a business in there. We already run an Airbnb off of the front part of Compost Street. So we do have an Airbnb there. And then our other son lives in the back part for right now. But he's getting ready to go off to diesel mechanicing school, and we're just looking how to better stuff for the kids coming up. Because right now everything seems like, if you drive through that neighborhood, how many houses are empty? How many houses are ran down? They're not painted. There's supposed to be a code back there. When our house caught fire, we had to go through all this and have it painted per a certain way, decorations, everything had to be approved in that area. But if you drive through it right there, in just that 2-block area, there's houses that are graffitied. There's cracked stucco. Stuff don't match. Okay, I get it. You want to preserve history, but everything changes. Everything evolves. Right now, it seems like we're stuck in, oh, we're going to stick to this right here. How many kids live in that neighborhood? What's the youngest person that's bought a house in that neighborhood? Do you see any new kids coming in and say, hey, I want to live in that neighborhood? They're all going out to fancier neighborhoods and stuff like that. So that's my point in it. We're going to do something that we can there, but we want to change the zone so it opens it up more to what we can do and funding options for us.
Thank you. Did you all have questions for the applicant? Did anybody have questions? Okay. Thank you. You can be seated. And then, did you want to speak? Okay. We're going to just two more, and then we're going to wrap it up.
City Council, I'm Wilma Hudson. I live in the historic district, but I'm a child of the 60s. Cannabis is not a problem with me, all right? But anybody that knows me knows I've lived in a number of foreign countries. I've been around the world. I have chalked up 100 countries I've visited. And where I go is to the historic districts to see the thing that created that society and that world. Please deny commercial in the historic district. Focus on what we could get with our own historic district and tourists. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you. All right, come on up. It's our last person.
Dolores Satchuleta, I really wasn't prepared to speak, but I think what I have to share is important. I am a Native American. My parents were full-blooded Pueblo Indians of the Isleta Tiwa tribe, and they lived where it is now the original town site. At the age of 14, his mother died, and his father took him to the Phoenix Indian School in Pennsylvania. They never saw each other again. From there, he enrolled himself at the Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania and graduated from there. He then joined the Navy, and during World War II, he came home to the original town site. He was prepared, he saved his money to build some adobe homes right there. He already met my mother, and they were going to get married. The trouble is, the Indian schools didn't teach how to make adobes. So he had to hire people to do that for him, and that's where he lived. And that's where he died, in a veteran's house. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Adam. We're gonna move to a vote. I actually do want to say a couple of things, though, before we move on. I do want to ask the public, you don't have to, but I'm gonna ask that you have some grace for staff who are consistently between being told or accused that they're not business friendly, and also that they're trying to demolish historic neighborhoods, and that they don't care about residents, and that their information is flawed. They're always sort of stuck in between this place, and so I do want to ask all of you to have some grace for them. I'm going to be voting no today, but I do want to note that for me, and it should be a note for all of us, that is precedent setting, because shall another proposal come for a different C1Us, it is a slippery slope to discriminate based on industry, based on business, and that's not what I will be doing, because you all know where I stand on cannabis. Supportive, if anybody has doubts about that. And then the other thing I do want to note is there's a lot of, I did bring up Airbnbs because I also think that they're a threat to our community, they're a threat to affordable housing, they're a threat to preserving historic communities, and so I would love to continue having conversations about what primary use Airbnbs look like in the historic neighborhoods, as opposed to Airbnbs that they're casitas, or that people live there and only rent them out when they're not there. I think that those are threats as well. and appreciate everybody talking about the importance of affordable housing. I hope that in the future, if there is any affordable housing proposals in this area, that you do not come fight against it, because that would be very hard for me to hear as well. So I did want to note those few things before we move on to voting. Adam, did you want to add anything, or did you just come up in case more questions?
Sure, take notes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Sure, go ahead, Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Adam, Mr. Ochoa, I do have a question. How do these R1s pop up in neighborhoods, in residential area? Excuse me, the C1s come up in residential areas. How is it that, what's that process and what does it take? I'm surprised, because I am very surprised that it being a historic district area, that such a zoning permissive zoning code would allow non-residential whatever. I think you understand what I'm saying. But, or do you understand my question? I mean, how, in whose mind, I mean, it's an historic district. Who comes in and says, I want to change it to something other than an historic district? Who does that?
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, really it's anybody. If you look in the 2001 zoning code, the commercial of C1 is commercial neighborhood. Limits the size of the property, limits the uses as compared to your C2, C3 zoning districts. So basically the actual definition of C1 commercial neighborhood is that it's a commercial use that is compatible with a neighborhood that wouldn't affect it by the intensity of what would be allowed on the property, ma'am. Again, by the types of uses permitted on there, sizes of buildings are restricted as well. When it comes to like in other zoning districts, C1 and outside of the South Mesquite, if you will, and also it limits the number of uses dramatically as compared to the next step up, which was C2 commercial medium intensity, ma'am.
But I think my point is that I live in a residential area, so I would never expect that a commercial type of business would be allowed on my street because it's a residential area. So someone would petition the city and say, let's change this to an R, to a non-R residential area, and just like that.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council Flores, that is correct. As a property owner, just like you have the ability to request the zone change, that doesn't necessarily mean that it be supported not only by staff or our adopted policies that elevate Las Cruces, the 2001 zoning code, and other policies we have in place as well, ma'am. Potentially, staff would also look at it as a spot zoning potentially as well. Literally, if it's just one spot in the middle of what is a C of R1, that may be a hard sell for staff to be able to support something like that.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, it seems like it would be. But if it weren't for Dr. Dennis, two Miss Hudsons, and the Communius sisters, Irene and Lewis, and but the part that really I find very problematic is that it is an historic district. Why would a zone change going to commercial be allowed in an historic district?
Again, Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, that is basically what staff's job is, to analyze what our existing codes are, what our comprehensive plan calls out, and what would be allowed or not, and what other policies are set in place as well, including the South Mesquite neighborhood policy plan as well, to see if that's something that could be supported or not, ma'am.
Okay, so the fact that it's an historic district has no bearing on zoning? I mean, it'll just be...
Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, that does take bearings as well. That's why it has to go before the Historic Preservation Commission for their opinion as well.
But they voted no.
Yes, ma'am.
They didn't want it.
Correct, that's how, but it had to move forward. A zone change has final authority here at City Council, so even though the HPC, all they could do is make a recommendation. They made a recommendation to P&Z. P&Z took that recommendation, made that vote as well for denial, and then they make a recommendation to you all. So that's why they didn't stop there, ma'am. This is where it stops.
It seems like the buck should stop at it's an historical, and I don't know. I mean, that's what I think. But the buck definitely stops here.
Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem, Councilor Flores, understand what you're saying, ma'am, but per our code, the Historic Preservation Committee is a recommending body. They don't have
Your
final
code
action.
or per the parameters of the historic district?
Councilor Flores, I think Mr. Ochoa has sort of explained the process.
Well, yes and no, but I'll find out, and it doesn't matter.
We can definitely discuss that further, ma'am. Yes,
Thank you.
Thank you
Councilor
so
Flores.
much.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate it. All right, Christine, we're ready for a vote.
This is on the motion to approve ordinance 3063. Councilor McClure?
No.
Councilor Matisse is absent. Councilor Graham?
No.
Councilor Cran?
No.
Councilor Flores?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks, everyone. Okay, we are done, and I lost my notes. Give me 1 second. We have a couple of board appointments today. We have a couple that I'm just going to read into the record, and then we have a couple that we will need votes for. Mayor Enriquez appointed to the New Mexico Municipal League and Mayor Enriquez is appointed to the New Mexico Municipal League and South Central Council of Governments. Councilor Flores appoints Blanca Scott to the Health and Human Services Advisory Committee for District 6. And for the following appointments, we need to be voted on. We have Jennifer Dahlgren for the ADA Committee.
Move to approve, Corin.
Second, Graham.
Thank you. Christine?
This is on the motion to appoint Jennifer Dahlgren to the ADA Committee. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse is absent. Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you. Now we have Erin Wall for the Library Board. It's a reappointment.
So moved.
Second, Corin.
Thank you.
This is on the motion to reappoint Erin Wall to the Library Board. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse is absent. Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Thank you, Christine. Notice of proposed ordinances, we have none. Wow, that has not happened in a long time. City Council member board reports and comments, and we will do what Mayor Enriquez does and start at the end with Councilor McClure.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I would like to see where we stand on creating a legislative team. I was hoping, I kind of forgot that Mayor Enriquez wasn't going to be here today, but when we went to Santa Fe, I had really hoped, and I had asked the question of city management to, how do we be more effective? Because this was literally my first rodeo. And I feel like we could have been more effective had we had more conversations about it. I'm not sure how this needs to be led, how this needs to be focused, but I do think we need to have a clear conversation about when we work with legislators, what does that look like, and be unified in that message. So I'd like to see if we could make some sort of legislative team. I don't know. Yeah, there's a deadline here with city management changes, but if there's something we could do within the next 30 days, I would really like to look and see how we do that. Listening to the comments on public comment, this is what I emailed to somebody. It is a little disheartening to see everybody just get up and leave, right? Partially, let me give you an example, because, for example, the pool situation, we had a lady come by and say, "How dare you with the pool, how dare you?" And I'm sitting here trying to text saying, "Hey, we know about that. Like, that got shipped today. We have a path forward, but we can't say anything." So it's really hard when she stayed so close to public comment for us, or at least for council comment for us. So it's really hard to to have that sort of feedback, you're itching to give it, and you can't. So I think there should be, I don't know, I suggested let's have 2 sections for council comment, but everybody was like, no. But if there would be a way to have more conversation, I'm down for that. But I'd like to remind, I think that came up earlier too, we're really responsive via email. I am, probably to the detriment of my own sanity. But I would recommend that you reach out to us. And a lot of times we would have that feedback here too. So those are the 2 things I would like to say. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McClure. Councilor Graham?
Thank you so much. Got 3 things on my list, so I'll try to go as quickly as possible. I also want to comment on public comment because this whole thing is my fault. So lots of people emailed, and I responded to everyone who had reached out to me. You kind of, after the first response, you kind of got a copy-paste. So I actually proposed this change last year. I feel like it was October or November. It was November, Christine said, thank you. And it came about, actually this is a perfect illustration of why it came about, because for some reason around that time, we must have had a zone-a-palooza of, there was all of these zoning changes. A lot of people had reached out to me because, as our comments showed today, zoning changes tend to be something that brings folks out to comment on an agenda item because it's impacting their neighborhood in a very direct, very visible way. And to each of those people who had reached out on various zoning issues, who had asked me for a ballpark, when do you think my agenda item will come up, I would have to say, I have no idea. And the main timing wild card in a council session is open public comment. Could be 15 minutes, could be 2 hours, no idea. So I had thought about if we prioritized the agenda item commenters, whereas, let's say, you know, and I push back against the idea that you folks don't also have places to be, jobs to do, children, grandchildren to care for, all of the things that, you know, at the end of the day, someone is going to have to wait longer than they want to have to wait. But I had suggested this change, to prioritize people with pressing issues for their own neighborhoods. And also, as Councilor McClure mentioned, we do have an opportunity here in council comment to address things a little more openly. So while I know that Mayor Enriquez made this announcement and he has taken most of the heat, yeah, it's my fault, so bring it. Second, Chief Administrative Officer Bencomo. So I know this is not new news because we had a press release, but I did want to shout out here that we are honored to share the dais with one of the top 50 women chief administrative officers of 2024. So. And super timely, Barb. I don't think there's a person up here who doesn't appreciate your expertise, your dedication, and just the way you make it all happen. Kind of nicely timed with the start of Women's History Month and making history right up here. So congratulations and thanks for letting me. I asked her ahead of time and she kind of turned red, but she's like, yeah, just go ahead. So congratulations. And finally, big thanks to Las Montañas Charter School. Their Enlace student program had myself, Katrina, and Grace from Community Engagement out. They did an amazing study of the neighborhood around their school, had some really incredible, actionable changes to present to us that we are investigating now. And just an amazing environment. This is a 9 through 12 school with 194 students. So it's an incredibly tight-knit community, and seeing how they care about one another, about their school, and about their community was just absolutely inspiring. And these are the times that it's so rad to be a city councilor. I love going and seeing things like that. So many thanks to Assistant Principal Estrada, to Coach Sid Robinson, Coach Rob, and to Ms. Salas, I think was the Enlace coordinator, and I'm sorry if I messed your name up on that, but That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. I certainly agree with you. I love that school so much. Yeah. Councillor Corrin.
Thank you. And I also want to shout out CAO Bencomo for getting things done in a way that I haven't experienced a lot of, but it's always been impressive to witness for you when you get things done, when you put your mind to something and get it done. I'm always impressed, so I'm completely unsurprised that you were recognized for that, and really glad that you were. A few quick notes. I want to thank the ASCMV staff for doing an enormous vaccine and chipping clinic, and I think they did, 22,000 total vaccines on 600 or so different animals a few weeks ago, and it was an enormous effort, and they really stepped up and are working to do that in our community, so I wanted to give some appreciation to them. And I also wanted to give a side sort of note to the animal organizations. Since we serve on the ASCMV, I did have the opportunity to meet with the folks from the Community Foundation to think about ways of funding animal support for animal organizations and the ASCMV in different and dynamic ways going forward. And so I think that's a nascent conversation, but it's an opportunity for us to think about how to leverage our community's support for animal organizations that is enormous, and the needs that are also that outstrip that support, and how we can streamline that and make the best of the money that folks give in enormous ways to animal issues in our community. So I had that conversation this past week, and it's a joint conversation with folks from the county and the Community Foundation, and so I'll keep you updated in that area. One other item related to some things that we serve on together. The MPO has been putting out a number of grant opportunities, but just as a note, the Metropolitan Planning Organization that I serve on with Councillor McClure and Mayor Enriquez, but which Councillors Graham and Bencomo have also served on with me, is going to be sort of leaving the city administration, and also potentially is going to be setting up a new JPA and MOU, and so I'm just putting those on all of our agendas as things that will be coming to us, because those will have to be approved by the city council, but it's moving forward in a really positive way, and so I want to give a shout out to the MPO staff who have been working really hard on making those things happen. I also want to thank the folks who put on the health fair at City Hall. I was lucky to visit and see a whole bunch of folks getting all kinds of health-related screenings and stuff. My students were working on some diabetes outreach, but there were folks from Burrell and various health industries, and I saw a whole bunch of city staff participating in that. So thanks to the folks within the city working on wellness and operationalizing that for folks that are here. Lastly, I just wanted to thank Chief Story and Lieutenant Gutierrez, who are working with community folks, as well as David Cedillo, to think about Monte Sombra and the neighborhood traffic calming potential issues related to that within my district. So thank you, Chief, for your response, and to Lieutenant Gutierrez, who's working on that as well. And I know that you all have already done a whole bunch of studies and work there, so thank you for being so responsive to the community in that way. So that's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Flores.
Thank you. I would, first of all, like to address the failure of SB 16. That was a very important piece of potential legislation that failed. I don't know why, but it was a bill that would have allowed, it's called the competency bill, and that has to do with the procedures that take place in court when someone is being tried for a certain misdemeanor, crime, whatever. And that bill would allow an assessment of that person's mental status. Is that person able to stand trial? Does that person fully understand? And I read it, and it's several pages, but I read it, and it was pretty comprehensive. It was 20 pages, and it gave different alternatives as to what can be done, how the person can be helped, and unfortunately, it failed. And apropos of what Councillor McClure just said, I think that we would have been more effective as a body if we would have gone over this and then gone over this way before the legislature even met, because it's crazy. It's crazy up there. It's crazy making the legislators. I don't know how they're able to weather it. But at any rate, there are problems. There are problems that would be and could be alleviated had this legislation been adopted. And that leads me into my being at the funeral of Officer Jonah Hernandez. All funerals are sad, but this one was superbly tragic. And he left behind a young wife and a toddler and a baby. And the funeral was just, it was incredible. There were police officers from different parts of the country, and we're talking not just a representative, but I think it's a huge, the place where the service was held was huge, and it was reported that there were maybe 200 people. I think there was a lot more than 200. I think there were so many police officers and so many people. And each officer from Las Cruces actually were able to give their farewells, the casket, and everything was done beautifully. I mean, I've attended my father's funeral, my mother's, my grandparents', my brother's, but this really, really, really hurt. And coattail it to the SB 16 that failed. And, you know, it's like, I think that the person that people are calling homeless, who killed our officer, is someone who needed help. And as a community, we failed. And we failed again with the legislature. And hopefully things will be different. And thank you, Councillor McClure, for bringing that up. We'll all be more in tune of what we're doing when we're up there to be more effective. We did meet with some of the legislators from the city, but it wasn't focused. The governor did not meet with us. She did have, I believe his position is Chief of Staff, and his name is Jesse Guillen, Guillen. And he was very responsive. He was very, he wanted to know about about Amador Crossing. He apologized for not knowing the layout of Las Cruces, and City Manager Peely and I, all of us piped up and said, and I described what the Community of Hope was all about and how we owned the land. He wanted to know about the land. And it was okay. So we did, I don't know. But anyway, that was a very, very interesting trip. This is the third time I've been up to the legislature, and I did walk away feeling that our goals were maybe met, but I don't know. I don't know yet. The other thing I want to share is that the Animal Service Center of the Mesilla Valley had a meeting. The legislative committee met. And I want to thank Barbara Bencomo for always being on top of funding and how things are going and all that sort of stuff. So the finance committee of that board met, and things are in very good shape. So thank you, Barbara, for that, and Clint Thacker. The SERTD also had a meeting, the South Central Regional Transit District. That's a body of about, I don't know, 6, 7 municipalities in the southern part of the state, Doña County, Sierra County, another county over east of us. And that's going very well. And what I failed to mention is that last year, the SERTD was named the best public transportation in the state. And I think that it probably will be that way again. The director is David Armijo, and he's really developed that. And right now, there has been provision for getting the electric buses, but I think the batteries are hard to find, or there's something that's hard to find. So anyway, the other announcement I have, and thank you, Chris Favor in the Economic Development Department. He has organized a workshop. Let me see, what did you write up, Chris? The New Mexico Finance Authority, NMFA, is excited to meet with you in person to share the following. It's about public-private lending overview and process, assistance discussion on future projects. I attended one of their presentations, and it's amazing how the NMFA funds so many businesses that I was appalled at how, I mean, I didn't know that it could just provide so many services and funding for businesses to start up. So I hope the word really gets out. I know Mandy makes fun of me when I say we should have a lot of PSAs. I mean, I'm a child of the 60s. So PSAs were a big thing when they, surfaced. But whatever media is available, we should let our community know that they can be startups and they can, really find funding for their projects, because they fund just about everything. Well, not everything, but, a lot. Okay, and then I also want to say that we have a learning academy, and that learning academy is for the public. And we started that before COVID. Jamie Rickman was in charge of that. And we always had, it was just wonderful. And there's graduation at the end of a certain amount of weeks. And fortunately now it's been started up. And I want to thank Grace and Katrina, who did a wonderful job. And the presentation, this was on utilities, and it was at the utilities facility on Motel. And the presentation was by Adrian Widmer, who's the director of utilities. She gave a 45-minute presentation, nonstop, very smooth, slides, everything, describing every aspect of utilities. And it is amazing. And it was very good to know that we have very good water. We have very good water. So, and it was absolutely lovely. And I left after 45 minutes, almost an hour, because it was cold and windy. It started to rain, and all I had was this little light jacket. So I left, but they also had actually stations where the different functions of utilities, which are many, were set up for people to look at and see how things really work. So, anyway, that was really wonderful. And I'll be, I think, representing the city. I have to talk to, well, I'll talk to Ipo before he leaves. I've been invited by the Chamber of Commerce in Jacksonville, Florida. My nephew is a member, to speak to the Mexican Chamber of Commerce about Cesar Chavez. I was on the picket line back in the 70s and was a member of the Migrant Legal Services, and we were able to boycott lettuce and green grapes, and we finally got Cesar to, or the union, to be allowed to join the AFL-CIO. But, and there's a bunch of other stuff, but I've been talking too long. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Ifo. Thanks, everyone. I have a couple things as well. I wanted to thank Natalie Green and her housing staff for inviting us to the groundbreaking a couple weeks ago for the Three Sisters affordable apartment complex that will be they have started to build a 70-unit affordable housing complex on the corner of Griggs and Walnut, and it's going to be beautiful, and I'm honestly really excited that that's coming into fruition, that the investments, the millions of dollars in investments we've made towards housing, we're finally going to start seeing them in real brick and mortar. So it's that one. I think there's a groundbreaking next week, and then a couple groundbreakings soon to follow. So we're very, very excited to make a tiny little bit of a dent in that giant housing unit shortage that we have. And then there was a little bit of a mistake. A social media post went out about 2 District 4 open house meetings that I will be having, but that will be corrected. Those will be in the first 2 weeks of April, and so a huge thank you to Katrina and her staff for helping me set those up. But I'll talk more about those at the next council meeting as we get closer to those dates. Because if you're anything like me, you'll forget. So I just wanted to say those couple of things before I jump into the meat of the other pieces I wanted to talk about, which a lot of it are in regards to public comment, but also the press conference that Chief Story had last week. I won't go through all of it, but there is a statement and my response to that presentation that Chief made on my City Council website under District 4 News and Events. Please go read it. I touch on almost everything that he touched on, even the 3 things that are out of our authority, which are at the state level. And I do want to say that in terms of Senate Bill 16, criminal competency determination, it did not fail, it just ran out of time. What's a failure is the structure of the legislature. And so it's 30 days and it ran out of time. However, and I've talked to Chief Story about this, and I want to make this very clear with the public, as a social worker and as someone who is seeing every day what is happening in our community, I don't take this lightly, and I do support this kind of legislation, but it should have its due diligence. We're literally talking about taking people's civil liberties away, so it should have a due diligence. It should have a significant funding source to meet the gaps that we obviously have in mental health care and substance use treatment facilities, which are very few, and even those have huge waiting lists. And so I do want to say that, and the other thing is that I've been in discussions with advocates around this legislation there is a commission that is out of the New Mexico Supreme Court that is working on this legislation. And there's an adjacent advocacy task force that is being formed to advise that creation of that bill as it will come to the legislature in 2025. I am doing everything I can to ensure that Chief Story and some of us are in those conversations as well, that Southern New Mexico does not get left out of that conversation. So please go read my statement. It was well thought out, and even just today I'm having a hard time sort of choosing the words I want to say, because I feel like everything I say especially in the last couple of weeks, has been really getting distorted. It comes out of my mouth, then it gets distorted. I've heard it, I've seen it happen to Chief Story, I've seen it happen to many of us, and so it is not in my nature to be super thoughtful and thinking about what I'm going to say. So I just generally speak from the heart. But my thoughts are there on all of those things, including pretrial release and detention, on fentanyl, and on some of the more short-term and localized goals that the chief presented, which I am yet to hear any pushback from any of us. That is not what's happening. We're actually working incredibly well as a new council with our new chief. And I suspect things will move forward. What I have a difficult time with sometimes is that when folks accuse me of not listening, sometimes I think that because I don't just say yes to everything that's being thrown at me, then immediately I'm not listening. That my disagreement immediately means I'm not listening. And I want to push back gently against that, because that's not true. I think about these things really well and thoroughly. And me just saying, yes, let's bring back panhandling ordinance. To me, that's not a sentimental disagreement. That is unlawful and unconstitutional. And frankly, I think people think of it as this magic solution that will just get rid of all our problems. And frankly, that's just not how this works. And but I have really thorough and well thought out ideas that we have been discussing over and over here. And so I would urge, I have yet to hear from the business group that is meeting. I hope they reach out to me. I would love to sit down with them and talk more about their ideas. If they think that in my progressive haze, I have missed something and I am not seeing something that we are not doing, I want people to point that out. I would also challenge folks to send me a list of my so-called progressive failed policies that have led us here, and I will review them. I commit to reviewing them and to bringing them back if we need discussion, but please send me a list of those policies that you think I have led on that have failed. I would, like I said, love to review them. So to that point, I'll stop there with that. I also wanted to bring up this really important and timely conversation about the type of public dialogue that I have been experiencing, definitely in the last couple of weeks, but honestly in the last couple of years. And maybe it's fitting that it's also Women's History Month. So happy Women's History Month to all the incredible and really amazing women on this dais, on this staff that lead a bunch of these departments. I respect you all deeply. But I did want to talk about this report that came out recently from the Brennan Center for Justice titled Intimidation of State and Local Office Holders, the Threat to Democracy. I'm just going to read a little bit of this. I apologize in advance. It's a little lengthy, but it's really important because I hear things here that say, well, you signed up for the job. These things are unavoidable. You signed up for the job. Somebody said the Chicken Little thing or whatever was dangerous and you have to deal with it. I'm going to push back on that. I think actually it's incredibly harmful to democracy that we normalize harmful language, threats, especially insults, harassment, those kinds of things should not live in democracy. And just because we ran for office and chose to be here does not mean that I'm going to allow you to use me as your punching bag. That is actually not how democracy works. And I have found myself in the last couple of weeks feeling like I shouldn't speak up on that anymore. Maybe I shouldn't post so much. Maybe I shouldn't do these things. And this report helped me realize that that is actually not what I should be doing. So this report speaks about the big federal things that are happening to federal public officials, which are awful. Like there was Representative Steve Scalise in 2017 was shot. The U.S. Representative Nancy Pelosi's husband was brutally beaten in his home. They speak about those, but they also say, yet over the same period, with far less attention and often little recourse, office holders serving in local and state governments across the country have faced a barrage of intimidating abuse. Threats and attacks constrain how freely office holders interact with constituents, narrow the spectrum of policy positions they feel safe to support, and make them less willing to continue in public service. Unaddressed, the problem stands to endanger not just individual politicians, but more broadly, the free and fair functioning of representative democracy at every level of government. And the kind of abuse that I'm referring to are insults, demeaning, derogatory, or offensive comments, gestures, or actions that upset, belittle, or humiliate, which I will say 2 weeks ago I felt like there was an attempt to do that. Harassment, persistent, uninvited behavior, attention, or actions that cause distress, fear, or discomfort, such as stalking. I know members of this council and previous councils have been stalked by members of the public. Threats, explicit or implicit expressions communicating an intention to harm, injure, or cause damage to an individual or others associated with them, implying imminent risk to a person's well-being and safety, and physical attacks, slapping, pushing, subjugation to projectiles, beating, abduction, assassination attempts, or other acts of violence. Those are obviously there's extremes there, but I have, in this job in the last 4-ish years, have been accused of not being a lawful citizen of this country. I have been accused of being anti-police. I have been accused of many things because I think often people disagree with me and then decide that that means I am anti something else, that I am then posing a danger to their beliefs. And I highly recommend this report. It is to the public, open to the public. And I also want to say that the way that we fight some of these things, because that will lead to many of us either not running for re-election, which I'm sure many people will be happy with that, but I also think that somebody said, I often take things personal. But yeah, politics is personal to me. Politics is very personal, and that's why I decided to run. And I want to see fair representation in local, all levels of government. But I think one of the biggest things that we have to do as public officials, community members, business leaders, any other person, is to publicly reject abuse and to not allow that kind of discourse to continue, because it is actually not the way that we will solve the challenges in front of us, and they are many, and we need people. We need people with ideas. We need people who are directly impacted by these challenges to come forth and share their stories and also present solutions. And I want to work with those people. I've never been closed off to that, and I don't want to close myself off because I feel like there are threats to my safety. So, and that includes my mental health safety and all of our mental health safety. Wow, okay, I just wanted to say that, and I will wrap it up there. I'm happy to talk with anybody about this and any other thing. Please, if you're watching, please reach out. Okay, Ifo.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'll be brief. Just wanted to give an update sent by, this is Connie that sent this, regarding the Apodaca Park. I know there was some conversation there. Just want to clarify the funds for the Apodaca Aquatic Playground remain committed to completing this project, currently budgeted at $1.9 million. The notice to proceed of demolishing the old swimming pool was issued on February 22nd. The state issued the demo permit on the 1st, and demolition will commence tomorrow on the old pool. Yep. So the staff is working on procuring a contractor to commence construction of the aquatic playground at Apodaca Park, and more updates to come in a few months. And then staff is aware of the graffiti on the restrooms, facilities. They will need to be sandblasted. So this is currently on the staff's to-do list for completion. And then Councilor McClure, with the legislative team, we can certainly get together and talk about what our plans have been. And we certainly learn every time we go up there. And so we do have some kind of a team, but we can certainly talk about that and how we become more effective moving forward. Although my time's short, we'll be able to address that. I'll have other times. There's other times for farewells, but this is no. There's other. We'll have other times. So I'm not trying to give a farewell speech here, but I do appreciate the faith that the council has had on our staff, our internal staff, to be able to post internally. That's a big deal, I think, for transition, for, again, just the statement that you've been able to, chosen to do that has shown a lot of faith in the staff that we have. I'll add my faith to that we have a ton of applicants, very much qualified to be able to continue. And so that's what's making this transition easier. So I think the public can have confidence that we'll continue to move forward. And so as I'm transitioning, you'll have, again, the city manager will be coming from our current organization. And so I don't think there'll be anything lost in translation or in transition. And so that's a great thing to have. But again, I appreciate it, Mayor Pro Tem, councilors, for that faith. And like I said, I'll have other time to give my farewells. And but thank you. Yeah. But thank you.
Thank you. I wasn't going to talk about that either because I didn't want to cry 2 weeks in a row, you know what I mean? So thank you, Ifo, and thank you for that Apodaca Park update. All right, we are at the end of our meeting today.
Move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
This is on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse is absent. Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.